was detained by ICE agents after a traffic stop in New York City on July 3rd. Sandoval said he showed the agents a valid ID and proper immigration documentation. ICE officials claim Sandoval's student visa had expired. Sandoval will have to plead his case in court. Until his court date, Sandoval had to agree to wear an ankle monitor to gain his release from the detention center. Sandoval, a junior at Savannah State, was MVP of this year's HBCU Baseball All-Star Game in Atlanta. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Let me put my hard hat on, go back outside, and see if these procrastination Crenshaw construction crews have shown up yet. I'm saving space for grace, but if these trucks don't show up soon, well, you already know. Destination Crenshaw, your time is up. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. KBLA Talk 1580 and Bethesda Temple Church invite residents, churches, businesses, and community leaders along the Crenshaw corridor to join a vitally important community conversation Thursday, July 30th, 6:30 p.m. at Bethesda Temple Church, 4909 Crenshaw Boulevard. For years now, this community has been living with unkept promises and the devastating effects of the unfinished Destination Crenshaw construction project, leaving residents, businesses, and churches to deal with myriad problems, including the loss of parking, restricted access, traffic congestion, and a lack of emergency vehicle access when it matters most. For years now, Procrastination Crenshaw has directly contributed to the loss of customer revenue for local black-owned businesses and, sadly, has forced the closure of some businesses along this 1.3-mile corridor. For years now, churches have been experiencing decreased attendance due to the elimination of parking, and social service programs for vulnerable fellow citizens have been altogether halted. For years now, residents have watched their quality of life erode, and nothing has been done about it. If they think they can get away with treating black folk like second-class citizens, they better think again.
You better think about what you're trying to do to me.
This town hall meeting is a reckoning, a public witness, an opportunity for impacted community members to share their experiences for the public record as we prepare to hold those responsible accountable for this enduring nightmare. So please join us Thursday, July 30th, 6:30 p.m. at Bethesda Temple Church, 4909 Crenshaw Boulevard. This town hall meeting is free and open to the public, but registration is required at KBLA1580.com. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley, and as always, we welcome your feedback. Live from historic Leimert Park in Los Angeles, California, I'm Tavis Smiley, and I'm so glad to see you and me back in stride again. Before we get started with today's show, let me invite you to follow me on Facebook and Instagram at The Real Tavis Smiley, and get updates on X, that's formerly Twitter, at Tavis Smiley. By the way, should you miss any part of today's program or want to catch up on previous shows,
You can always visit thetavisSmileyShow.com. That's thetavisSmileyShow.com, or wherever you get your podcast, and listen to the Tavis Smiley podcast version of this live program at your leisure. Now, the great show on tap for you today. In our second hour, two conversations. Up first, political commentator and social media influencer A.B. Burns Tucker on today's trending topics. On the B side of hour two, did you watch any of the World Cup? Be honest. Did you watch any of the World Cup? All right, well, now that Spain has won for a second time, a conversation about the World Cup and its impact on diversity and representation of black players globally with Alan Hopkins, Exec Director of Black Players for Change, and Jalil Anibaba, retired professional soccer player. We'll do that again on the backside of hour two. In our third hour, two more conversations. Up first, we'll talk with Congressman Bennie Thompson, chair of the January 6th House Select Committee. 5 years later, hard to believe, 5 years now since Bennie Thompson took the reins of that committee, and all that came out of that committee that Merrick Garland dragged his feet doing anything with, the data that is. But 5 years now, and interestingly, 5 years as we are now 250 years into this democratic experiment. Anxious to hear what Bennie Thompson has to say about his work 5 years later. On the B side of hour three, Donald Trump continues to wage this war in Iran without congressional approval. So, are the war powers broken? And has ICE lost its way with the reported deaths of even more fellow citizens at its hands? We'll put those questions and more to former Homeland Security Secretary Jay Johnson on the backside of hour three. But in this first hour, let's cross the aisle today to talk politics and more with the executive director of the magazine and website, The American Conservative, Curt Mills. Curt, good to have you on this program. How are you today, sir?
What's up, man? Thank you for having me.
It's good to have you on the program. Let me do this first. There's a lot to cover in this first hour. I want to start with Darlene Graham. I am not one to say I told you so, but I told you so. A week ago,
yes,
when Darlene Graham took this seat, I said to you that while Republicans in South Carolina are lining up to take this seat, to run for this seat that Lindsey Graham held for many years, do not assume that his sister, who has absolutely zero experience in politics, but was appointed by the governor anyway at the suggestion and urging of Donald Trump anyway, don't think that, once she's in here and she gets a whiff of this power, that she might not decide to run for this seat herself. I said this a week ago on this program. And yesterday comes news that after a week of warming this chair with absolutely no political experience, Lindsey Graham's sister, Darlene Graham, has announced that she is, in fact, going to run for this seat. Take a listen.
I've made a decision.
You're in.
I'm in.
The president again saying, I hope Darlene does this. And the president's putting an ask on you, we'll put it that way. It's a lot of pressure.
It is a tremendous amount of pressure.
Tell me what's going through your head about it, and where do you stand now?
I'll continue to say I've been praying a lot, talking to my family, but with the love of my family, with the support of his staff. I know I'm a hard worker. I learned that from Lindsey. He cared about the people of this state. I've worked for almost 30 years for the people of this state.
I want to talk about that in a minute.
I feel like I can do it. I feel an inner peace about it.
One of my colleagues and I were having the same thought at the same time. They sort of whispered in my ear. This is DEI for you. This is a different brand, different version of DEI, if ever there was one. That's number one. Number two, I suspect, knowing this audience as I do, that pretty much everybody listening to me right now is a hard worker. We're all hard workers, and yet that does not warrant us an automatic seat in the United States Senate because we're hard workers. Darlene Graham has absolutely no business sitting in the United States Senate. And I told you a week ago, this is my problem with this. And it's not just Republicans. Democrats are guilty of this as well. That we have somebody pass away, something happens, and then the governor or somebody appoints the mother, the father, the sister, the brother, the son, the daughter, out of some obligation to the family, as if the seat belongs to the family. It ain't the family's seat. It belongs to the people of that particular state or that particular district. But here you end up with a woman who has absolutely no, and I pray every day too. So I ain't against prayer. Prayer changes things. I'm a prayer warrior. But I pray hard, I work hard, and I ain't representing California in the United States Senate. It requires a little bit more than that, right? But here we are with Darlene Graham saying that she is going to run for this seat. I suspect it. Power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Once you get a taste of that power, it does not concede easily. I mean, think about this. 1 week, she ain't found her way to the bathroom yet, but she's decided that she is going to run for this seat. And there you have it. And you can thank the governor of North Carolina, and you can thank President Donald Trump for this. We'll see what the folk in South Carolina had to say about it. I've got some more politics. You recall we had the pediatrician on this program who's the Democratic nominee for that seat. And I think they decided that, given how well she's doing, they need to put a woman up to run against her. So I think there's some politics in terms of strategy for why Donald Trump and others encouraged her to do this. I'll leave that alone for right now. I've got Curt Mills for the hour. We'll talk about that and a great deal more when we come forward here on Tavis Smiley.
From California to the Carolinas.
Everybody's listening to Tavis. More when we come forward.
My name is Ariel. When I arrived in the U.S. at 19, I struggled to find job opportunities without my high school diploma. My entire life changed when I took a chance and got my high school diploma at age 22. Everything I have, my education, my career, my marriage, I owe to the Adult Literacy Center and my teachers. They were with me every step of the way, helping with my English and math, making sure I pushed through all the challenges.
Ariel, your success proves that what I'm doing as a teacher has real meaning.
It was an honor helping you achieve your greatness. Now you're helping others achieve theirs. It inspires me.
Education was the key that unlocked all my opportunities.
When you graduate, they graduate. Find free and supportive adult education centers near you at finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Don't be anxious or confused about AI. Take control of your career when you get the skills to tackle real business problems and design specialized solutions. HR Dive reported that entry-level talent with applied AI credentials can receive up to a 25% salary boost. But where do you find training that you can trust? Future-proof your career and deliver more value with Humans Lead the Way AI. Their hybrid learning courses use practical definitions, real-world examples, and strategic insights to help you and your team understand AI with confidence. No magic, no hacks, no shortcuts. Just practical knowledge that helps you use AI more successfully. Don't wait. AI can never replace people who know how to use it well. Register for courses today at humansleadtheway.com. That's humansleadtheway.com.
Roger and Tracy saved over $18,400. Cynthia was recovering from a family tragedy and saved over $10,300. If you are drowning in debt, then call Debt Blue. Debt Blue is a professional debt negotiation firm with over 20 years of experience helping people pay back a fraction of what they owe. Learn how to cut your debt up to half or maybe more. Be debt-free in 24 to 48 months, even with bad credit. With an A+ rating from the BBB, you can rest easy knowing Debt Blue is going to deliver guaranteed debt reduction. Debt Blue offers a success guarantee. You pay nothing unless your debt is reduced or completely resolved. That's right, you save money or it's free. Call now for significant debt relief and a free consultation. 800-200-8879. That's 800-200-8879. You don't have to declare bankruptcy. This program works if you owe $10,000, $20,000, or even $100,000 in debt. Call for your free consultation today. 800-200-8879. That's 800-200-8879.
And The top-rated African-American talk show host in the nation, according to Talkers Magazine. You're tapped in with Tavis Smiley right now.
All right, let's get this party started today with Curt Mills, Executive Director of the magazine and website, The American Conservative. We're crossing the aisle today for the first hour. Curt, again, good to have you on. You heard my commentary, at least the onset of my commentary about this particular issue. Dr. Annie Andrews, pediatrician, is the Democratic contender for Lindsey Graham's former Senate seat. We had her on this program literally the day after, I guess not the day after he passed away on the weekend, so that Monday or Tuesday, we had Dr. Andrews on this program, talk to her about this race. So again, you've heard what I had to say about now Senator Darlene Graham announcing, you probably recognize the voice of Sean Hannity. She was talking to Sean Hannity at Fox News. The clip I played earlier, I should have mentioned that, but I'm done for now. At least, Curt, it's your turn. What's your read of this decision?
I mean, look, this is the president is obviously not above nepotism. So he has hired a lot of his family members ever since he became the president of the United States. In many ways, the Trump organization was a family business. And so this is very legible to him to make this maneuver. It is, as you correctly pointed out, just utter whiplash. Graham died this month. His sister, who was not a public presence, to say the least, has now replaced him as an appointed senator and is running for the full term. It is very plausible to win the whole thing because South Carolina, though it is a changing state, remains a very deep red state. I think if she was not to win, it would be because she loses this sort of slapdash Republican primary. But if she has President Trump's endorsement, Trump's endorsed candidates occasionally lose, but it's pretty hard. And so it's likely that she will be the senator if she sees this through, and she is an utter cipher. I think there are a couple of options. Number one, she will do everything that her brother would have done, which means pretty militant hawkishness and big military kind of approach. I mean, Graham famously almost spent as much time abroad as he did in South Carolina. That drew a lot of criticism. Or, she could be her own woman. I mean, if you listen to her speak to Mr. Hannity, she sounds like a lot of average Americans. So, representative democracy in action. So we can't fully hate that. But the way she got the job is, of course, not sublime.
When you say she sounds like a lot of Americans, what do you mean by that? Unpack that for me.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think this is somebody who has no political experience who's being thrown into the spotlight. She's obviously, so I mean, Mr. Graham was unmarried, and he famously sort of cited his sisters as his real family. He raised them. I believe he was, I don't know if he was literally an orphan, but like kind of a quasi-orphan situation. And so she's definitely been around politics, but a lot of people have been around politics without being practitioners of it every day. Mm-hmm. She's really going to be thrown into the lion's den here. And it's just not clear she has any policy depth whatsoever. There are people in the Congress with no policy depth whatsoever, but it just remains to be seen whether or not this is a responsible choice and that whether or not she will be as impactful as her late brother. That being said, martyrdom is a big deal, and the Republicans are trying to slap Lindsey Graham's name on every piece of legislation to try to get it through. And Lindsey Graham was a lightning rod in life. But people can take on different dimensions in death, especially if they die suddenly and tragically.
What are the chances, you think, again, just as I suggested a week or so ago, that it was not a foregone conclusion that she was not going to just be a seat warmer? People thought almost immediately that she's going to warm this seat until January. She's not going to run. I didn't quite see it that way, as I said earlier. But what are the chances that these other Republicans, there are a lot of them who've lined up in this state who have, in fact, been in public service. Now, at the end of the day, I'm not sure their voting record will be any different than Lindsey Graham's voting record was. So in that sense, I'm not so sure it matters what Republican takes the seat. Right. It's South Carolina. Their voting record, again, will be what it is. But that said, there are people who have waited their turn. They have served in the House. They've served inside the state of South Carolina. And I'm sure they're none too happy about this development. But what are the chances that in South Carolina, in that red state of South Carolina, they buck Donald Trump and say to Donald Trump, hey, you don't tell us, who who the nominee is going to be before we've had a real contest in this state. I do remind this audience, this is the same South Carolina, the same Republicans in South Carolina who were instructed to get rid of Jim Clyburn. They did not do that. So these Republicans in South Carolina have a way of showing already that they don't necessarily kowtow to Donald Trump. You take my point?
I do. I do think he's the king of the Republican Party, and that's we'll see if that lasts after the midterms, if the Republicans get shellacked. But I think the compressed timeline here also favors Darlene Graham. If you want to make somebody make a decision that's not necessarily in their best interest, make them rushed. Mm-hmm. And so the South Carolina voters are rushed right now.
Right.
And so there's not a lot of time to consider it. You're very astute that there's a lot of people with mad ambition in the Palmetto State. So you've got the Nancy Maces of the world, the Joe Wilsons, any number, Ralph Norman, any number of Henry McMaster, the governor, mm-hmm. any number of people who could run for this seat. That's an old Trump ally. But Trump has picked his poison, as it were. And I do think, unless she is a disaster out of the gate, if she gives a series of interviews where she's just clearly doesn't pass muster, or some sort of scandal would have come out, that would be really debilitating, a la the sort of Graham Platner situation. But even then, the Republicans seem to stick by their people way more than the Democrats. I think she's going to sail through, base case.
Yep. There were folk. I know there are two different examples, obviously, but there were people who thought that Kamala Harris having a short runway would work to her advantage. In some ways it did, in some ways it didn't. And
I think it did at first.
Yeah.
I mean, if the election had been held in August, she might have won.
Right.
That's my view.
No, I take your point. That's what I was getting toward there, pushing toward rather. In some ways that short runway worked for Kamala. In some ways it worked against Kamala. I suspect the same will be true for Darlene Graham. In some ways, to your point, the short runway will work for her. In other ways, the short runway will work against her.
For sure. The countercut, though, is that's a presidential election that everybody's paying attention to. Mm-hmm. And, Senate races are big, but it's not – this isn't slated to be an enormous Senate race. And, like, what makes a Senate race enormous? Money is the truth, which is if you throw a ton of money into a race, then you see ads everywhere and the constituents can't escape them. Mm-hmm. And so – I just don't think there is a lot of money in this race right now because people didn't expect it to be a competitive race. The Republicans have put their resources elsewhere, and the Democrats don't want to waste their time. That could rapidly change, but we're just getting pretty late in the calendar.
Yeah. I'm looking at comments that are coming as we're talking, and somebody said, there are a lot of differences between Kamala and Darlene Graham. For one, Kamala is not a white woman with no experience. I'll leave that alone. But I take your point. No experience in the Senate whatsoever. You mentioned earlier that Curt Mills, that Donald Trump has in fact picked his poison, and his poison is Darlene Graham, sister of Lindsey Graham, who he has now endorsed. Again, in case you just tuned in, Trump has endorsed her, and she has announced, said to Sean Hannity yesterday on Fox News, that she is in fact going to run for the full term, not just the unexpired term between now and January, of the seat that her brother Lindsey held for a long time. And again, I said earlier, full disclosure, that my view on this is that Democrats have been guilty of the same thing. But what does it say about our politics? What does it say about the state of our politics? That the president and others, including the governor, and there'll be others, fellow Republican senators who will line up, Fox News likely, who will line up behind Darlene Graham, when everybody in the country knows that she has absolutely no qualification to sit in this seat. But she is the person the governor chose. She is the person that Donald Trump has endorsed, Republican or Democrat. She ain't got no business in this seat. She has no experience in this regard. What is this decision, and those who will line up behind this decision, say to you, Curt Mills, about the state of our politics?
Well, we've had a recrudescence of nepotism in American society. So that is normalization of favoring family members for powerful roles in public life. And this has been going on for at least a generation. If you look through American history, it would have been controversial to just run the sort of questionable son of a former president, forget, sort of a mediocre former president, George H.W. Bush, as the Republican nominee in 2000. That would have been controversial, I think, in 1950 or 1930, but it wasn't terribly controversial by 2000. Mm-hmm. And I think we've seen this attrition of standards. Say what you will for the history of the United States and for America, and I'm pro it. There used to be a sort of, I think there still is, but there used to be way more of an up by your bootstraps. You have to be your own man. We looked askance at aristocracy and familial wealth that had defined Europe and other places where Americans had come from. And I think you see this in other elements, and I don't mean to make it mirthful or to pick on the guy. I know he had a reasonable season, but even in Los Angeles, Bronny James with LeBron. Did Bronny James belong in the NBA? I don't know.
Yeah, no, I take your point, and I, in that regard, you and I agree. Bronny would not have a seat on the Lakers bench were his father not LeBron James. Anybody that thinks otherwise is just completely stuck on stupid. You're lying to yourself. There's so many other players that could have been on that bench, and I ain't hating. And I can hear a lot of black people around the country right now saying to me, hey, if they've done it for years, why can't we do it? If nepotism works for them, why can't it work for us? I know a lot of folk, I've been in these conversations in the barbershop and beyond, who ain't mad at the James family. Because, again, they've seen white guys do this, for time eternal. And so if it works for them, why can't we do a little nepotism every now and again? So I hear that. It just pushes the envelope off the table, and it just moves us further and further away from people having to earn their seat and deserving to be there. But I'll leave that alone for now. Let me just ask you right quick. I got 2 minutes to go here. Got you for the rest of the hour. But speaking of Lindsey Graham, were you at all shocked by the Democrats, underline that word now, the Democrats in the Senate and beyond, who were giving all these glorious salutes to Lindsey Graham at his passing? Not the Republicans, but the Democrats were just fawning over Raphael Warnock and Cory Booker, and just run the list of these Democrats who were doing all these wonderful salutes and tributes to Lindsey Graham. Did that trip you up a little bit?
I guess it didn't, because I think, number one, the suddenness of his death, created this context. Number two, he was such a character that I think that people appreciated that. Number three, there is such a thing as senatorial deference. In general, they try to hook up their former colleagues. But I think the big thing, actually, in the scandal is what Lindsey Graham stood for in public life was militarism. If you don't like the Iran war right now, Lindsey Graham was an Iran uber hawk. Yeah. And I think what you see, and I'm not accusing this of Warnock, I don't think he's as bad on this stuff, but I think you see a sort of passive deference of most politicians to the Pentagon. They're scared of foreign policy. They don't know it. They haven't traveled internationally abroad. They don't want to get Americans killed. They get very scary intelligence briefings, and it takes real spine and real bravery to sort of buck the war state, to sort of buck the consensus. And I think just a lot of politicians got into politics not to do that. They wanted to focus on other things.
Nope. To your point, Dr. King was well known for what he called the triple threat facing this country. It was the triple threat facing us then. It is the same triple threat facing us now. You know it well. Racism, poverty, and militarism. Dr. Cornel West was here yesterday, and he actually made reference to this. Racism, poverty, militarism. We could add materialism to that list. But King called it the trifecta, the triple threat facing this particular country. Here's the irony, and I like Raphael Warnock, nice guy, friend of mine. But Raphael Warnock just happens to pastor the church that Dr. King pastored in Atlanta, Ebenezer. And so if you're grading Lindsey Graham on a Kingian scorecard, he fails miserably by the standard of the man who pastored the church that you now pastor, Raphael Warnock. He failed miserably on racism, on poverty, on militarism. You ever give all these wonderful tributes and salutes to Lindsey Graham? I got a problem with that. Say nothing again of other senators, Cory Booker and others who did the same thing. So again, I'll leave it alone for now. But I was just curious as to how Curt Mills read all the Democrats saluting Lindsey Graham at his passing, never mind the viciousness, the violence of his politics and his political rhetoric. Curt Mills is our guest, executive director of the magazine and website, The American Conservative. More with him when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
This is getting good.
Yeah, man.
Tavis Smiley continues when we come forward.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Police are investigating a home invasion at the Pennsylvania residence of Eagle star Saquon Barkley. Authorities say at least 2 suspects were involved, and while Barkley and his family were home, nothing appears to have been stolen. Police Captain Tyler Moyer.
All the occupants of the house were physically okay, obviously a little unsettled, as anybody would be, but no one was harmed.
Investigators are examining possible links to other crimes targeting professional athletes. Baltimore police are investigating a possible hate crime after racist flyers linked to a Ku Klux Klan group were discovered in Fells Point. Authorities say the notes were found alongside bags of rocks, and the investigation remains active. And Cardi B is set to headline the 2026 Create and Cultivate Festival in Los Angeles this September. The rapper will close out the 2-day event, which features networking opportunities and keynote speakers. Get BIN News Now, on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique. But you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The immigration crackdown by the Trump administration has made its way to HBCU sports. Johan Sandoval, a star infielder for the baseball team at HBCU Savannah State University in Georgia, is free today after spending more than 2 weeks in detention at an ICE immigration facility in Batavia, New York. Sandoval, a native of the Dominican Republic, was detained by ICE agents after a traffic stop in New York City on July 3rd. Sandoval said he showed the agents a valid ID and proper immigration documentation. ICE officials claim Sandoval's student visa had expired. Sandoval will have to plead his case in court. Until his court date, Sandoval had to agree to wear an ankle monitor to gain his release from the detention center. Sandoval, a junior at Savannah State, was MVP of this year's HBCU Baseball All-Star Game in Atlanta. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, a.k.a. the Voice of Reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the Voice of Reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
At concerts, we dance to the same tune. At games, we hug total strangers. At marathons, we hand water to people we'll never see again. We pull over to help. We stop for someone who's fallen. We give. We step up. We show up. And yet, in these moments, there's also something we don't do. We don't act based on how they look, who they love, where they're from, or what they believe. We just act. Because the things that make us different will never change what makes us human. Go to lovehasnolabels.com to learn more. Brought to you by Love Has No Labels and the Ad Council.
Oh no! Tear the roof down!
Oh no, we have time!
Please, God, save us. Save our house. Please, God, please.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we haven't forgotten what happened Tuesday, January 7th, 2025.
The trauma, processing the loss of our home. How do we address the compounding effect of the fire now more than 18 months later? I noticed one of my 3 children engaged in self-harm who hasn't been able to articulate the challenges that they've had since the fire. And 4 out of the 5 folks in our household are in therapy. 1 is not. And the one that's not is the one who I noticed with some marks on their person. This isn't okay. You need to talk to someone.
Black historical memory keeps alive the stories and struggles of everyday people and communities. Black historical memory preserves truths that others attempt to erase, minimize, or distort. Black historical memory prevents history from repeating its worst chapters. At KBLA Talk 1580, we will never forget. Tune into Conversation Live, Altadena Rising with James Farr, weekends on KBLA Talk 1580.
Freedom is an endless meeting. So let's get back to it with Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Curt Mills, executive director of the magazine and the website, The American Conservative. We're crossing over the aisle in this first hour today to get Curt's temperature on a number of issues. We just spent some time talking about Darlene Graham. In case you've just tuned in, the sister of Lindsey Graham, who's had the seat for just over a week now, has said she is, in fact, running for the full term, not just to be a seat warmer between now and January. Again, some of us thought that was going to happen a week ago. And all these Republicans, Nancy Mace and Joe Wilson and others who thought they had an opportunity to win this seat, now have to go up against a candidate who has no experience whatsoever politically, who has now been endorsed by Donald Trump. And she, again, in case you've just tuned in, said to Sean Hannity on Fox News yesterday that she is, in fact, running for this seat. So we will see what the voters in South Carolina have to say about that. As Curt said, it's a short runway to get in this race, and so we'll keep following this. I said again earlier that anything could happen here, because these Republicans in South Carolina do have a way of being sort of independent in their thinking. In the Palmetto State, this is the same South Carolina where Republicans were told to redraw the lines and to get rid of the only black congressional district in that state, long held by James Clyburn, and the legislature refused to do that. So they could have made an example. They could have wiped out James Clyburn if they'd wanted to. The governor and Donald Trump had asked them to do that, and they bucked that in South Carolina. So I don't know how you feel if you're a Republican who has long served in the state of South Carolina, and Donald Trump puts his support behind somebody who just showed up, who has no experience, even though you're already in the race. We'll see. I digress for now. Let me push to, speaking of Donald Trump, and the point that Curt made earlier about nepotism and the big grift becoming, pretty much the order of the day these days. It is so normalized in this country now, nepotism and grift, that when you see Donald Trump get behind somebody's sister, again, who has no experience, we just yawn, right? We're so used to seeing this, again, by, frankly, Democrats and Republicans. But let me weave the nepotism and the grift together. Listen to Chuck Schumer yesterday talking about Donald Trump's big grift.
Donald Trump has turned the presidency of the United States into the most profitable scheme of his life, and American families are being forced to pay the price. Today, I'm launching a new effort to expose the corruption, show Americans exactly what is costing them, and build reforms needed to stop any president from using public office for personal profit. Senate Democrats will be exposing this self-dealing, showing Americans exactly what it's costing them, and developing reforms to make sure no president can abuse the office this way again. We'll release major legislation designed to rein in Trump's rampant corruption and to prevent any president from ever doing it again. You pay, Trump profits. That's the pattern of this administration, and we'll highlight it everywhere we see it. No amount of gold leaf can conceal the rot spreading through this White House.
That's a nice line. No amount of gold leaf can conceal the rot in this administration. All right, Curt, what do you think?
Yeah, it definitely a good turn of phrase. You have to hand it to him. I would say it remains an open question how politically salient that is. Will voters vote on this? Will they show up to the polls on what I think is pretty obviously some level of Trumpian corruption, if not gargantuan corruption? And I just don't know. I think it's a problem, but it doesn't particularly show up into the polls. If you look at what people care about, they care about the economy, they care about their health care. That's what they say they care about. That being said, I've never thought political science was an exact science, and I think it remains on the Democrats, to hone a message that's very coherent. And the message looks like this: the White House doesn't care about you. The White House is fighting a foreign war at the behest of a foreign power. And meanwhile, they are raiding the treasuries internationally for the engorgement of Trumpian insiders. That would be the critique I would level. What's interesting, though, is that in a lot of ways, some of this corruption and a lot of this war state is a bipartisan affair. And I think you see a reticence to put a brutal, clear message on this from even the Democratic establishment. I think you're going to see the Democrats, kind of just run an anti-Trump campaign, hope to win the House and the Senate in November, but then they're going to have their own civil war, right? Is the future of the Democratic Party he can't run, but is it Zoran Madaniism, AOCism, or is it something more moderate like Rahm Emanuel, something like that? And I think, that the style of that message would be very different because it depends how away from the American establishment you want to go.
Yeah, it's not often that conservatives come on this program and give Democrats good talking points. So, Curt Mills, thank you.
Well, I try to be fair. And I don't know. Read the website. Some of this stuff's available for free to anybody who wants to use it. So, yeah.
No, I appreciate it. Being somewhat funny there, but the frame that you created is quite nice, and the talking points, the bullet points you laid out for how Democrats ought to message this is spot on. This White House does not care about you, and here's the evidence. They're doing A, B, C, and D in real time. They don't care about you. I can hear Michael Jackson on the soundtrack. They don't really care about us. So anyway, I appreciate Curt Mills giving us the talking points. Let me go back to this. Speaking of talking points, let me go back to this corruption issue that you raised a moment ago, in terms of its political salience. I asked you a while ago what it says about our politics that Donald Trump and others are lining up behind somebody who has no experience whatsoever to qualify her to sit in the U.S. Senate. And you answered that question eloquently. So I ask you now, what does it say about the demos, about we the people, that an issue like presidential corruption, I mean, I'm thinking, I got Richard Nixon in the back of my mind here, right? What does it say that in 2026, that Donald Trump has pushed the envelope so far off the desk, out the door, out the building, down the street, outside the district, the envelope's been kicked so far out of the Oval Office that this issue of corruption and grift does not have political salience with the American people? What does that say, Curt Mills, about us?
That people are checked out, that people are under unbelievable amounts of pressure, that they find politics depressing, that they don't want to engage with it, that there's a natural human inclination that might makes right. And so these are the winners, and, questioning it too much is a loser mentality. I think there's all, potentially some truth in all of that. And there's a degree of sympathy. But the problem is, if you want your society to be better, if you want your government to be better, if you want your leadership to be more impressive, you have to care. And I think it's hard. You mentioned Nixon. In a lot of ways, look, I'm not here to relitigate Watergate, but that was a domestic sort of dirty tricks campaign, right? The break-in at Watergate, presidential cover-up, blah, blah, blah. We all know the story 50 years ago. We don't know all the details, but on the surface of it, I do think a lot of this stuff, and look, I don't think nearly at the scale, but Biden's son Hunter was involved in some of this. It's the foreign contacts that actually worry me. It's the exchanging of money with foreigners to try to influence. And there's nothing wrong with foreigners. There's great people all over the world, but there's the exchanging of money to insiders to potentially impact policy. That, to me, on the surface of it, in the abstract, is way, way, way more concerning than Watergate.
What some find more concerning than Watergate right now is this war in the Middle East, and we have clearly taken a side, have for many, many years now. So that reality is unabated. But in this particular moment, we see people, weighing in unusual and interesting ways. On this program yesterday, Curt Mills, we talked about John Fetterman, senator out of Pennsylvania, Democrat, pretty much in name only right about now, but suggesting that he may leave the Democratic Party. He may step out and become MAGA himself, Republican himself, if the Democrats continue down this anti-Israel path, as he put it, with all these Democratic socialists being elected or being winning primaries, I should say, being elected and winning primaries, both, around the country with, as he put it again, an anti-Israel stance. We saw over 100 Democrats vote to stop funding Israel militarily. We talked yesterday about Bill Maher and his comments that he is open to voting for J.D. Vance, and that issue of the Middle East came up in that conversation as well. So everybody's sort of weighing in, and we're trying to figure out what this all means. When we come forward, I want to ask you whether or not AIPAC continuing to fund so many of these GOP candidates is becoming a liability for them. Let me just flip the script since I'm crossing the aisle today to talk to the executive editor of the magazine and website, The American Conservative. We'll go there when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Generous listening. Charitable listening. It's why everybody wants to talk to Tavis. The conversation continues when we come forward.
This summer, the honey pepper pimento chicken sandwich and pineapple dragon fruit and Sprite are back at Chick-fil-A.
Girl, it's back. We've been waiting. I love that honey pepper pimento sandwich.
And that pineapple dragon fruit and Sprite is everything. It's got that razzle-dazzle that makes you stop and say, okay, wait a minute.
I love the creaminess of the pimento cheese. It's savory, it's bold, it's flavorful.
Our faves are back. High five, girl.
Which fan favorite will you choose? Real customers paid for their testimonials.
Hey, Dad, how do airplanes fly? What's in this box? Can I touch this? Where does sand come from? Is this tree good for climbing? What happens if I mix these two things together? How are babies made? What does this thing do?
Kids are curious about everything, including guns. Talking to them about gun safety in your home is a good first step, but you can do more. Always keep your guns locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Storing your guns securely is the best way to prevent family fire, including unintentional shootings. For more information on safe gun storage and ways to keep your family safe, visit endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org.
What do we keep in the attic? What's this thing called? Can I ride my bike backwards?
Like I said, kids are curious. It's up to us to keep them safe. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
Is reviewing life insurance on your to-do list? Now's the perfect time to add it. A friend recently told me that securing life insurance sooner rather than later can help you lock in lower rates for years to come. So I bumped this up on my list and got it done. I called SelectQuote and couldn't believe how easy and affordable life insurance is. I'm 40 and got a $500,000 policy for $16 a month. My husband's also 40 and his $500,000 policy was only $18 a month. Plus, with SelectQuote's same-day coverage, there was no medical exam required, and we were covered by the time we hung up. Knowing I have this checked off my list feels amazing, but the peace of mind knowing my family is protected feels even better.
Call SelectQuote at 1-800-729-7070. That's 1-800-729-7070. Or go to SelectQuote.com to get your free quote today. That's 1-800-729-7070. Details on example rate at SelectQuote.com.
Less monologue, more dialogue. Tavis Smiley continues right now.
He does indeed with Curt Mills, our guest. Once again, he is the executive director of the magazine and the website, The American Conservative. Pleased to have Curt kicking us off today in this 3-hour program. So, Curt, AIPAC. This thing is cut in so many ways now. There are many of these Democratic Socialist candidates who were in races where their opponent was wildly, significantly, aggressively, significantly funded by AIPAC, and they won those races anyway. And so the question is whether or not all this AIPAC money, and I just saw a story yesterday in the Wall Street Journal, you guys can look this up, Wall Street Journal, that Israel is now engaging a $50 million campaign. They see the way the narrative is changing. So there's a $50 million sort of online campaign, is my recollection in that story. But they're spending a lot of money now because they realize that, again, the narrative is shifting here. Rahm Emanuel was just there, a couple weeks ago, He gave it to him straight, no chaser. It took him a long time to get there, but Rahm gave it to him straight, no chaser. So what's your read of how all this AIPAC money may end up being a liability for these Republicans?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think AIPAC in a lot of ways is the byword for Israeli influence in American society writ large, and the influence on our policy is profound. We always think of the U.S. as having, quote, a special relationship with the U.K., but, there have been leaked documents this year where the Brits themselves say, if the U.S. has a special relationship with anyone, it's Israel. And contra the U.K., the Israelis are an expansionist, militarist liability for the United States at this point, and it's becoming extremely unpopular and controversial. And it is not just siloed to the Democratic Party. It is going to be a political issue in the Democratic Party. It already is. It's going to be a major issue in their primary, especially if these wars continue, which I think they will. But I think it's going to also go on the Republican side. And I believe you're referring to the Journal article on the $50 million campaign. If memory serves, that campaign was primarily focused on the American right, on conservatives. And so that tells you the bipartisan nature of the frustration. You mentioned someone like, John Fetterman, and, we started the conversation with Darlene Graham. Look, Mr. Fetterman had a stroke in 2022, and I feel terribly for him and his family. This is an example of somebody who should not be in public life. He is not healthy enough to serve. It is not close. And the result of it is that he has, with his limited faculties that remained, it appears, with his limited abilities, become captured by a foreign power. There's really no other way to explain it. And it is a sight to behold, and it is craven those that are abusing his malady to advance their policy preferences. Bill Maher is obviously an extremely talented person who I like, but I would submit that he has a special exception for Israel. That everything else he says on foreign policy and on every other issue is coherent and clear. Bring up Israel, all of a sudden you can't see straight.
So to your point, when we come forward in our remaining moments with Curt Mills, let me just tell you now what I want to ask him directly. Since Bill Maher said to Jonathan Karl on ABC on Sunday, we discussed it with Dr. Cornel West yesterday, Bill Maher said, and Bill has been a supporter of mine and a friend of mine, and we have these squabble-ups from time to time. Sometimes you got to fight with your friends. That's my view. Sometimes you have to fight with your friends. But the question for Curt Mills when we come forward in our remaining moments with him is, if J.D. Vance does in fact become the 2028 nominee, and he is not as willing to back Israel as aggressively as Donald Trump has, would Bill still be open to supporting J.D. Vance? That's a question really for Bill Maher, but it's one we can play around with for a second here, because again, everybody seems to be lining up on this particular issue. It is clear that the narrative is shifting in this country, and so our politics are being defined in many ways now by where you stand on this particular issue. So we'll put that question to Curt Mills when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Why does Tavis say when we come forward?
Because he's not going back.
And you don't have to go back either. Forward ever, backward never. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward. KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The BLM Center for Black Power is a hub for Black activism in the city of Los Angeles, a standalone nonprofit affiliated with Black Lives Matter LA. The venue is home to live events, meetings, and organizing drives for Black-led community-based organizations. It is also the base of operations for Black Lives Matter LA. Built on what used to be a nuisance property owned by an arms dealer, the BLM Center for Black Power is in the heart of Leimert Park and has opened its doors to everything from youth organizers to toy drives to film screenings and community town hall meetings. To make a donation or make a request, please visit blmla.org. That's blmla.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
You say you'd never give in to a meltdown. Never let kids' toys take over the house. And never fill your feed with kid photos. You'd never plan your life around their schedule. Never lick your thumb to clean their face. And you'd never let them leave the house looking like less than their best. You say you'd never put a pacifier in your mouth to clean it. Never let them stay up too late. And never let them run wild through the grocery store.
We have on aisle 6 and aisle 3.
So when you say you'd never let them get into a car without you there, know it can happen. 1 in 4 hot car deaths happen when a kid gets into an unlocked car and can't get out. Never happens. Before you leave the car, always stop, look, lock. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
I love days like these at the pool, but my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can sometimes take me out of the moment. I'm ready to make a splash with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi, risankizumab Riza. Skyrizi is a prescription-only injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. At 4 months, most people saw 90% clearer skin when measured from head to toe, and many were even 100% plaque-free. People also saw significant improvement in psoriasis symptoms of pain, redness, itching, and burning.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
Now there's nothing on my skin, thanks to Skyrizi, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis. Visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKY-RIZI to learn more.
More honesty than you can handle. More empowerment than you can imagine. You're tuned in to Tavis Smiley.
Let me see if I can squeeze this in right quick before I get Curt Mills' final response. We're talking about this issue of Israel and Palestine and AIPAC, and everybody's opining on it these days. I think, again, our politics are being defined along this fault line in a variety of ways for Democrats and Republicans. Here's New York Mayor Mondami yesterday talking about enforcing the arrest warrant of Netanyahu if he arrives, when he arrives in New York City in September for the annual UN meeting. Take a listen.
When it comes to Benjamin Netanyahu, we're speaking about someone who's the subject of an international criminal court arrest warrant. And he's the subject of this arrest warrant for alleged crimes against humanity, for war crimes, and he's the architect of the genocide against Palestinians in Gaza as Israel's prime minister. These are not facts of my personal assessment, they are facts of public record. And I believe that when someone is charged with an international criminal court warrant, it's something that should be taken seriously, whether it's Benjamin Netanyahu or it's Vladimir Putin or whomever else. What I've also made clear is that my administration will follow all applicable local laws. That is our commitment. That is something that we will follow through on when it comes to an adherence to local law. And that's all I have to add on that.
Wow. Not sure what that means exactly. I got 90 seconds left, Curt. I'll give it to you to opine as quickly as you will on how, again, this issue is becoming a major fault line in American politics.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's obviously a highly hedged statement by Mamdani, but an interesting one. So he's saying, number one, I think he's in violation of the ICC. I think the United States should be a member of the ICC. This is Mamdani speaking, and he very much clearly wants to arrest Benjamin Netanyahu. That being said, there have been key, I would say, sort of Israel First Republican voices on the airwaves on Fox News recently that have been arguing, like Mark Thiessen, John Yoo, the former Bush torture memos author. They have been arguing that there are all these sort of specific local laws that if he arrests Netanyahu, then in turn that American authorities would be justified in arresting Mamdani. And so I think he's clearly sort of gesturing towards that. I think he won't do it. But the reality is that, it's astonishing the degree that a major American leader feels he can say this and feels that it won't hurt his popularity in the least. I think that should give the Israeli people serious pause on the approach they're taking to world affairs.
That's the last word this hour. Curt Mills, Executive Director of the magazine and the website, The American Conservative. I concur with his final statement. Curt, good to have you on. We'll do it again. Thank you for your time. Appreciate your insight, sir.
Thanks, man.
More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Police are investigating a home invasion at the Pennsylvania residence of Eagle star Saquon Barkley. Authorities say at least 2 suspects were involved, and while Barkley and his family were home, nothing appears to have been stolen. Police Captain Tyler Moyer.
All the occupants of the house were physically okay, obviously a little unsettled, as anybody would be, but no one was harmed.
Investigators are examining possible links to other crimes targeting professional athletes. Baltimore police are investigating a possible hate crime after racist flyers linked to a Ku Klux Klan group were discovered in Fells Point. Authorities say the notes were found alongside bags of rocks, and the investigation remains active. And Cardi B is set to headline the 2026 Create and Cultivate Festival in Los Angeles this September. The rapper will close out the two-day event, which features networking opportunities and keynote speakers. Get BIN News now, on demand, 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique. But you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The immigration crackdown by the Trump administration has made its way to HBCU sports. Johan Sandoval, a star infielder for the baseball team at HBCU Savannah State University in Georgia, is free today after spending more than 2 weeks in detention at an ICE immigration facility in Batavia, New York. Sandoval, a native of the Dominican Republic, was detained by ICE agents after a traffic stop in New York City on July 3rd. Sandoval said he showed the agents a valid ID and proper immigration documentation. ICE officials claim Sandoval's student visa had expired. Sandoval will have to plead his case in court. Until his court date, Sandoval had to agree to wear an ankle monitor to gain his release from the detention center. Sandoval, a junior at Savannah State, was MVP of this year's HBCU Baseball All-Star Game in Atlanta. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Let me put my hard hat on, go back outside, and see if these procrastination Crenshaw construction crews have shown up yet. I'm saving space for grace, but if these trucks don't show up soon, well, you already know.
Destination Crenshaw, your time is up. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. KBLA Talk 1580 and Bethesda Temple Church invite residents, churches, businesses, and community leaders along the Crenshaw corridor to join a vitally important community conversation Thursday, July 30th, 6:30 p.m. at Bethesda Temple Church, 4909 Crenshaw Boulevard. For years now, this community has been living with unkept promises and the devastating effects of the unfinished Destination Crenshaw construction project, leaving residents, businesses, and churches to deal with myriad problems, including the loss of parking, restricted access, traffic congestion, and a lack of emergency vehicle access when it matters most. For years now, Procrastination Crenshaw has directly contributed to the loss of customer revenue for local black-owned businesses and, sadly, has forced the closure of some businesses along this 1.3-mile corridor. For years now, churches have been experiencing decreased attendance due to the elimination of parking, and social service programs for vulnerable fellow citizens have been altogether halted. For years now, residents have watched their quality of life erode, and nothing has been done about it. If they think they can get away with treating black folk like second-class citizens, they better think again.
You better think about what you're trying to do to me.
This town hall meeting is a reckoning, a public witness, an opportunity for impacted community members to share their experiences for the public record as we prepare to hold those responsible accountable for this enduring nightmare. So please join us Thursday, July 30th, 6:30 p.m. at Bethesda Temple Church, 4909 Crenshaw Boulevard. This town hall meeting is free and open to the public, but registration is required at KBLA1580.com. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley, and as always, we welcome your feedback.
My people! The foundation of the United States rests on the sweat of my people. Every enemy of the USA has had to face my people on the front line.
People
time. Don't know where our future would be if he's not here. How do we stay strong? Only we can save us from what? Oh, yeah. Think about change. Show our people love. Oh, yeah. My people, hold your head up. My people, don't take it back. My people, rise. My people, rise. My people, we want you side by side. We're doing all right. My people cry. My people ride.
I'm Tavis, Smiley. Glad you're with us in this second hour of today's program. I love that track by Angie Stone, and there's James Ingram. Turn that up, Mouse. Just let it ride for a second.
We need to know our history. We were kings and queens of the greatest dynasty. Bring about change. Bring about change. Show our people love. My people, my people, my people. My people, hold your head up. My people, don't get fed up. My people, rise. My people, do alright. My people, walk with pride. Side by side. Side by side. Laugh and cry. My people laugh. My people cry. My people ride or die.
My people, my people, my people. I love my people. I'm glad you're with us in this second hour. As promised, two conversations on the B side of this hour. Did you watch any of the World Cup? I mean, be honest. Did you watch any of it? Stop lying. Well, now that Spain has won for a second time, a conversation about the World Cup and its impact on diversity and representation of black players globally with Alan Hopkins, Executive Director of Black Players for Change, and Jaleel Anibaba, retired professional soccer player. I was just reading the piece last night in preparation for today's conversation with these guests on the B side of this hour about whether or not the European teams had too many black players on them. Is it really a European team when half of your team are black folk, Africans? Gonna be a great conversation on the backside of this hour. We commence this hour, as promised, with our friend, political commentator, social media influencer, A.B. Burns Tucker, lawyer, on a number of trending topics. A.B. is actually in town today. Good to see you. How are you?
I am wonderful. Thank you so much for having me.
It's good to have you in studio. Let me do this. I close the first hour with our guest playing this clip from Zohran Mamdani, the mayor of New York City, about what happens when Bibi Netanyahu steps into New York City in September. As you know, every September, all the world leaders meet in New York City at the United Nations. You get all these speeches from all these world leaders. So that happens every September. And I've learned to not go to New York in September around that time. Funny story, true story. I was in New York years ago around this time, and the traffic was so stifling. As it always is. New Yorkers know to leave when this UN assembly comes into session. I'm trying to get a flight back to L.A. I have an appearance back here in L.A. I cannot be late for this appearance. I'm trying to get to JFK and hadn't processed the time of day, the UN. I got caught in this traffic. And when I finally thought I'd broken free, the driver had broken free, we get pulled over again for this motorcade to come by us. It happens to be the motorcade of Bill Clinton.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
I saw the president a couple of days later, and I told him, I said, I missed my flight because of you, man. I was stuck on the side of the road. You called me to meet. He said, Tavis, if I had known, you could have flown with me. You could have flown with me. I said, well, you speeding by too fast for me to flag you down, right? But I missed my flight back to L.A., courtesy of Bill Clinton, trying to get to the airport himself. In any event, it's that time of year, every year in September. And so Bibi Netanyahu and all these other world leaders are headed to New York in September. And here's what Zohran Mamdani said yesterday about Bibi Netanyahu coming to New York in September.
When it comes to Benjamin Netanyahu, we're speaking about someone who's the subject of an international criminal court arrest warrant. And he's the subject of this arrest warrant for alleged crimes against humanity, for war crimes, and he's the architect of the genocide against Palestinians in Gaza as Israel's prime minister. These are not facts of my personal assessment, they are facts of public record. And I believe that when someone is charged with an international criminal court warrant, it's something that should be taken seriously, whether it's Benjamin Netanyahu or it's Vladimir Putin or whomever else. What I've also made clear is that my administration will follow all applicable local laws. That is our commitment. That is something that we will follow through on when it comes to an adherence to local law. And that's all I have to add on that.
That's all I have to add on that. A.B. Burns Tucker is a political commentator, a social media influencer, if I can say it, and an attorney. I'm going to ask her what she heard in that non-statement, when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
This show was built for you, for the community, for the culture, for everyone who wants more than headlines, for everyone who wants meaning. Tavis Smiley has always believed that public media can change lives, and every single day, that's what he comes to work to do. You're listening to Tavis Smiley. Your voice, your issues, your show.
My name is Ariel. When I arrived in the U.S. at 19, I struggled to find job opportunities without my high school diploma. My entire life changed when I took a chance and got my high school diploma at age 22. Everything I have, my education, my career, my marriage, I owe to the Adult Literacy Center and my teachers. They were with me every step of the way, helping with my English and math, making sure I pushed through all the challenges.
Ariel, your success proves that what I'm doing as a teacher has real meaning.
It was an honor helping you achieve your greatness. Now you're helping others achieve theirs. It inspires me.
Education was the key that unlocked all my opportunities.
When you graduate, they graduate. Find free and supportive adult education centers near you at finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Don't be anxious or confused about AI. Take control of your career when you get the skills to tackle real business problems and design specialized solutions. HR Dive reported that entry-level talent with applied AI credentials can receive up to a 25% salary boost. But where do you find training that you can trust? Future-proof your career and deliver more value with Humans Lead the Way AI. Their hybrid learning courses use practical definitions, real-world examples, and strategic insights to help you and your team understand AI with confidence. No magic, no hacks, no shortcuts. Just practical knowledge that helps you use AI more successfully. Don't wait. AI can never replace people who know how to use it well. Register for courses today at humansleadtheway.com. That's humansleadtheway.com.
Roger and Tracy saved over $18,400. Cynthia was recovering from a family tragedy and saved over $10,300. If you are drowning in debt, then call Debt Blue. Debt Blue is a professional debt negotiation firm with over 20 years of experience helping people pay back a fraction of what they owe. Learn how to cut your debt up to half or maybe more. Be debt-free in 24 to 48 months, even with bad credit. With an A+ rating from the BBB, you can rest easy knowing Debt Blue is going to deliver guaranteed debt reduction. Debt Blue offers a success guarantee. You pay nothing unless your debt is reduced or completely resolved. That's right. You save money or it's free. Call now for significant debt relief and a free consultation. 800-200-8879. That's 800-200-8879. You don't have to declare bankruptcy. This program works if you owe $10,000, $20,000, or even $100,000 in debt. Call for your free consultation today. 800-200-8879. That's 800-200-8879.
Helping to make you the most knowledgeable person in your circle of friends. This is Tavis Smiley.
This is Tavis Smiley. Tavis Smiley and A.B. Burns Tucker, political commentator, social media influencer, attorney. All right, I played the clip. What did you hear Zohran Mamdani say in that clip?
If Netanyahu get to New York, he gonna have them cuffs on him. It's going down, you know? The same way we taking these administrative warrants serious with ICE, he's taking our ICC warrant serious with Netanyahu. So play if you want to.
Let's play this out. Speaking of playing, let's just play this out. So Netanyahu comes to New York City in September for the UN General Assembly. Mandami says New York Police Department, NYPD, will follow all local laws. There are arrest warrants for Bibi Netanyahu. Mandami says we should take these international courts seriously. So he frames it pretty clearly, right? So he comes there. Let's say he comes September. Mandami and NYPD arrest Netanyahu. My prediction, which ain't that bold, is that sooner than right now and quicker than at once, the feds will descend, on New York, on New York. And Mandami will be in handcuffs. You know, this is the same president that has threatened many times to arrest Gavin Newsom.
He didn't threaten, but he ain't done nothing yet.
He ain't done it yet. You know. But again, Gavin Newsom ain't arrested Bibi Netanyahu. So there's a bromance here. We all know, between Trump and Netanyahu. And this isn't just speculation. We're having this conversation because you heard the clip of the mayor in New York City suggest that Netanyahu may be in them cuffs, as AB said, if he arrives in New York in September. Clank, clank. But if that happens, there's going to be a domino effect like you can't imagine. And again, it would not surprise me one bit that Trump goes to New York and arrests Mandami for arresting Netanyahu. I mean, this thing could get ugly.
I mean, I definitely believe that he is going to cause chaos in New York, because Trump loves a show, right? So I think that would happen. As far as him being in cuffs, I don't know if they're going to arrest Mandami, right? And I also...
arrest Netanyahu, you mean, yeah?
No, Mandami.
Oh, you mean Trump?
Yeah,
okay,
I don't know if Trump will arrest Mandami,
right?
But I do think he is going to make it very difficult for him, right? And again, like, I don't practice in New York, but if the law says that this man should be arrested based on the warrant that is issued, that is what it is, right? That is the mayor's, if it's within his jurisdiction, he has to do what he has to do. But I do think he is going to cause chaos in New York. We have seen, Trump be a chaos agent in the U.S., period. If something is going on that he doesn't like, he causes chaos. But also, we've seen Trump talk a good game and has yet to back it up. Every Taco Tuesday, right? He fold. Every Taco Tuesday, he fold, right? We didn't started and stopped this war how many times?
Yeah, like 32.
Right?
And counting.
Right? So, I mean, at the end of the day, hey, the warrant is out there. Like I said, if you can take an administrative warrant serious and just bust in people's house and arrest them, right, no real due process, then the ICC warrant, if it's valid, go and put them cuffs on them.
My number of 32 was not a made-up number. I didn't just put it out of the sky. We talked on this program last week about a story on NBC News. You can go to NBC News, their site, and see the story for yourself. They did a pretty interesting story, a detailed story about the 32 times that Donald Trump has said this war is basically over. 32 times.
Us to death.
Exactly. 2 weeked us to death. I like that. We've been 2 weeks to death. Every 2 weeks he says it, right? Yeah.
Every 2 weeks.
So 32 times now and counting. We've been told that this war is over. Let me. I want to pivot to that in a second here because this war is continuing unabated.
Yes.
It's continuing unabated without congressional approval, and even in this moment where things are getting, more and more crunk by the hour, Republicans don't seem concerned at all about pulling Donald Trump back from the brink, and this thing could just explode right about now. We'll come back to that in a second, I promise. But let me stick with Bibi Netanyahu. I'm wondering, nobody wants to be in prison. You don't believe me? Ask Nicolas Maduro. No head of state wants to be in an American prison. And yet, I wonder whether or not there is a way that Mandami, even attempting to arrest Netanyahu, flips the frame, changes his narrative in a way that would aid and abet Netanyahu. I can see a number of ways in which the narrative, never mind the way the storyline is shifting in this country, public opinion I'm talking about. We see public opinion shifting in this country. But I don't know what happened in the American Jewish community and how that would impact our politics, maybe even Mandami's future. Now, people knew his politics on this issue when he ran, and he got elected. But this is bravado at a whole nother level. And I'm wondering if he even attempted to do this, whether or not inside of Israel, which again, as you know, is not, wholeheartedly behind Netanyahu on the way he's, operating and running this war. I'm just thinking out loud whether or not there are ways in which that effort on Mandami's part would flip the frame and aid and abet Netanyahu. AIPAC would go crazy about this. Yeah, and I suspect their money would increase, their fundraising would increase. Absolutely. So I can see ways it could help their cause. I don't want to ramble. You take my point, though?
No, I do, definitely. Yeah. But I think, like Mondami said, right, this is not my personal thing. Like, these are facts that are out there, right? This is a warrant that is out there. And I think that to be a responsible mayor is to say, look, if it is within my jurisdiction and my power, and this is what needs to be done, then this is what we're going to do. But then also the question comes to, well, who finna come pick them up? Right? Like, once you put them in the cups, who finna come over here and come pick them up?
Who's going to bail him out, huh?
You know what I'm saying? So that's a whole nother situation to consider as well. So, I mean, it's unfortunate that we have to have this conversation in America right now when people are starving, right? And we're talking about arresting a, I guess, alleged at this point, war criminal. But it just is what it is. And I think that, again, if you are a responsible leader and you know that this is what needs to be done, this is what the law says, then we are to abide by the law. And you took an oath to the Constitution. And your number one thing is to protect these people in your state, right? Or, well, in the city of New York City. So it just is what it is. Don't come over here, Nettie Loke. That's what I call them.
Yeah, Nettie Loke.
Don't come over here, Nettie Loke. Go on, zoom in, homie. Make it easy on everybody. Zoom in.
Yeah, just zoom in.
Send him a Zoom link.
Yeah, he might do that
if
he thinks Mondami's serious.
That's cool. But FaceTime him.
It does raise a fascinating question. I think Curt Mills, I guess, in the first hour, got to just a little bit in the last 30 seconds. I want to get your take on this.
Sure.
What does it say about the way, again, this narrative, public opinion has shifted in this country, that you and I are even having a conversation about an elected official in New York City, of all places, making a statement anywhere near what he said, and us having a conversation about the fact that Netanyahu could be arrested? I mean, what has shifted? I mean, how do we read that this is even this is live. We're having a real conversation on radio across the country right now about a framework that you could not have dreamt or imagined just a decade ago. I mean, you couldn't have done this 4 years ago in the Biden administration, right? Yeah. But the fact that we're even having this conversation is, pardon the pun, arresting in a variety of ways.
Absolutely. Well, I think because it has had such an effect on people's personal lives, right? Like the cost of this war right now, right? People being confused about why we're even in cahoots with Israel right now in terms of, I don't even think people understood how connected we were with Israel up until this point. And so now when you're seeing, as a result of Trump following behind this man, right, gas prices are up, right? The Strait of Hormuz is closed, right? We don't have any end to a war. And obviously, right, like with Netanyahu and his warrant is about him being a war criminal and committing genocide in Palestine. But that has had a substantial effect on American lives. And so I think that's where the conversation comes from at this point, because we're feeling it. It's one thing when you see it on TV and you're like, dang, that's wrong, right? It's another thing when you like, gas is $9.99 a half a gallon, because we chasing behind some dude who don't want to go to prison. But all you had to do was not commit a genocide. It was that simple, right? You didn't have to do that. There are rules to war for a reason. If you didn't abide by them because you knew you was going to lose and you knew you were dead wrong, it just is what it is. So I think we're having this conversation because the American people are now affected by it. Our lives, and this is going to be long-standing, right? And then you got to think, like, them kids in Palestine, they're not going to stay kids forever. Like, they're going to grow up.
The blowback is real.
What?
The blowback is on steroids.
And it's going to be scary.
Oh, yeah.
And we're going to have to eat that at some point, too, because we're complicit, unfortunately, whether we agree or disagree. So it's a crazy conversation to have. But when y'all elected a 34-count felon, right, who's been found liable of assault, what did you expect? This is why we're having a conversation about criminals, because we got a criminal in the White House.
Yeah. I would love to know what's going on inside BB's head right now.
Me too. You think he's scared?
I mean, here's the thing. Mondami is on such a roll right now in New York City, and he ain't God. He don't walk on water.
New York City is behind him.
Yeah. I mean, you saw those candidates that ran, that he endorsed that won.
Yeah.
I mean, he's on a roll right now.
Yeah.
And I've been watching this just since he made that comment, and I'm looking for the fallout in New York City. And there have been a few responses here or there. But unless I'm missing something in the last 24 hours, I don't see Mondami being whiplashed or spanked or called on the carpet by everybody in New York. How dare you say something like that?
No.
I haven't seen that kind of response to what he said.
Because they struggling in New York, too.
Yeah. So
which is the whole reason why they elected him, based on, the
Mhm.
promises that he made about how he was going to change the city and what we've actually seen him do.
Yeah.
Right? So when we talk about Trump, what was it? Promises made, promises delivered.
Yeah.
Hell no, you're lying. Right? But Mondami is delivering. And I think for those reasons, too, is why New Yorkers are standing so firm behind him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
I was expecting a response that was going to be swift, certain, and severe.
Well,
and that hasn't happened as yet.
You're a politician.
To my mind. I mean, the response to him.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was gonna be swift, certain, and severe.
Nah.
Given what he said.
Nah.
That ain't happened.
Nah.
That's what I'm trying to tell you.
These are not. You got to think between Netanyahu and Trump, and I hope my plane land right after I say this. I hope my plane lands. Excuse me, after I say this. But they really not like that for real. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so I think when you start to see how, I guess for lack of a better phrase right now, timid they are and how they react, because everybody else is doing their dirty work. So they're gonna play it and see how it goes. But Mondami, do what you got to do.
Yeah, we shall see. But again, if you're Bibi Netanyahu, you got to be pondering.
Just
this.
zoom in.
Yeah, you got to ponder it. Miles, let me close this half hour with this clip from the former Maine Senate President and presumptive Democratic nominee Troy Jackson in this seat that Graham Platner once claimed. Take a listen.
Well, let me ask you about Platner. You supported him. You bragged about being one of the first supporters of him. Why did you stick with him for so long? Why did you stick with him after the Nazi tattoo? Why did you stick with him after the New York Times article and the aggressive women stuff? Stick with him after the Reddit posts that were arguably racist and sexist? I know he denies the sexual misconduct allegations, but why did you stay with him for so long?
Well, the Nazi tattoo and the Reddit posts, I mean, I didn't know. I mean, I haven't even ever been on Reddit. But, when people talked about those things and he turned around and said, that these were times whenever they were dark for him and, he'd grown and all this stuff. I mean, they were, a different time period for him. And I understood, that people can change. But, I think the biggest thing about this was the issues that Graham was talking about and bringing people out on. Things like Medicare for all, health insurance, prescription drugs, workers' rights. These are the things that, we've all believed in and wanted a huge change in. And certainly the people here in Maine do. Those earlier things, he had plausible reasons that he said that they happened. But when it came to a credible sexual assault, became clear that was it. It was, a red line that I wasn't going to cross. And the other thing about it was Graham told me point blank that there was nothing in his past that I had to worry about. And he lied to me, and he lied to a lot of us.
I got about 90 seconds here. I tell the audience all the time, always listen for the pregnant pause. Mm-hmm. When the question has been asked, listen for the pregnant pause. That tells you everything you need to know, the pregnant pause. I got 90 seconds to go. I'll give it to you right quick here. Is that line good enough that he lied to us? No.
The racism should have been the red line. Point blank, period, dot. The racism should have been the red line. And that I stand on that. I made a post about it too, where I'm like, now the Democratic Party, you have to respond to this and tell black people specifically, because that's the audience I speak to, how white supremacy is not the foundation of this party. When y'all dangled a white supremacist in front of us and said, shh, it's okay, it's gonna be okay. It's gonna, he gonna get better. No, the racism should have been the red line, right? He didn't lie. Like, you knew what it was. You seen the truth. It wasn't right. You've had a dark time before, right? You didn't go online and start being sexist and racist or anything, right? Like, you didn't do that. So there's no excuse for that, especially if you're talking about someone going into leadership. So at the end of the day, the racism should have been a red line. You were okay with it, right? But you see how it's going down with people who are being accused of assault in this way against women, and the American people are not standing for it, and we also need to not stand for the racism. So it's not good enough for me.
We join A.B. Burns talking in prayer that her plane lands safely.
Please, God, my bad. You got me on the radio talking my truth.
Well, you're free to go now. Amy Burns Tucker, political commentator, social media influencer, attorney, all around good sister. Good to see you.
Thank you so much for having me.
More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
In a world full of noise, one voice cuts through. Tavis Smiley has never backed down from the hard questions, never shied away from speaking truth to power and to the powerless, and he's not about to start now. This is the show people talk about, the one your co-workers quote, the one that gets under your skin in the best way. Tavis Smiley, nationally syndicated, unapologetically progressive, unapologetically real.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Texas is reporting a big decline in illegal border crossings, with officials saying encounters are down significantly from previous years. Ira Melman with the Federation for American Immigration Reform says even if migrants make it across the border, they're being sent back to Mexico.
As long as we keep doing this, we're going to see more and more people deciding it just isn't worth trying to break our laws.
Supporters of tougher immigration policies credit stricter enforcement. Chicago renters could see major changes as city leaders weigh two competing housing proposals. Supporters say the measures would strengthen protections for tenants, while critics warn they could increase costs for property owners and impact the rental housing market. And the Trump administration says UC San Diego's medical school improperly considered race and admissions decisions, alleging some Black and Latino applicants were favored over white and Asian students. Federal prosecutors want the school to change their admissions process or face possible legal action. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique. But you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The immigration crackdown by the Trump administration has made its way to HBCU sports. Johan Sandoval, a star infielder for the baseball team at HBCU Savannah State University in Georgia, is free today after spending more than 2 weeks in detention at an ICE immigration facility in Batavia, New York. Sandoval, a native of the Dominican Republic, was detained by ICE agents after a traffic stop in New York City on July 3rd. Sandoval said he showed the agents a valid ID and proper immigration documentation. ICE officials claim Sandoval's student visa had expired. Sandoval will have to plead his case in court. Until his court date, Sandoval had to agree to wear an ankle monitor to gain his release from the detention center. Sandoval, a junior at Savannah State, was MVP of this year's HBCU Baseball All-Star Game in Atlanta. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Number 14. That's where Talkers Magazine ranked Tavis Smiley on their Heavy 100 list of the 100 most important talk radio hosts in America. Join Tavis weekdays, 9 a.m. to noon or 9 p.m. to midnight, only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Where the overlooked become unmissable, this is KBLA Talk 1580.
At concerts, we dance to the same tune. At games, we hug total strangers. At marathons, we hand water to people we'll never see again. We pull over to help. We stop for someone who's fallen. We give. We step up. We show up. And yet, in these moments, there's also something we don't do. We don't act based on how they look, who they love, where they're from, or what they believe. We just act. Because the things that make us different will never change what makes us human. Go to lovehasnolabels.com to learn more. Brought to you by Love Has No Labels and the Ad Council.
As a fitness coach, my active psoriatic arthritis can slow me down. With Skyrizi, risankizumab Riza, I'm treating my skin and joint symptoms so I can keep moving. Skyrizi, a prescription-only injection for adults, helps me move with less joint pain, stiffness, swelling, and fatigue. And for those who have plaque psoriasis, 90% clearer skin is possible. With Skyrizi, there's no daily dosing. It's just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing like clearer skin and better movement. And that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi. Visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKY-RIZZI to learn more.
This November, you'll decide who leads California. So shouldn't you hear directly from the people asking for your vote? Join us for California Voices, a political town hall and ballot forum, Saturday, October 3rd, 2026. Meet candidates running for governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, and other major statewide and local offices, including mayor of Los Angeles, city attorney, and LA County sheriff. Get clear, nonpartisan breakdowns of the propositions on your November ballot, both sides, no spin. And ask your questions directly, in real conversation, face to face. California Voices is brought to you by KBLA Talk 1580 and the Empowerment Congress, giving you the information you need before you vote. Mark your calendar, Saturday, October 3rd, 2026, California Voices. Follow KBLA 1580 for details and download the KBLA 1580 app. Your vote, your voice. Be there.
Made fresh daily in the Mert Park, Los Angeles, California. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
All right, question. Did you watch any of the World Cup? All right, be honest. Did you watch any? Did you? Well, now that Spain has won for a second time, a conversation right now about the World Cup and its impact on diversity and representation of black players globally with Alan Hopkins, Exec Director of Black Players for Change. Alan, good to have you on. How are you, sir?
I'm doing very well, and it is a joy and a blessing to be with you today. And if you did not watch the World Cup, I think I've watched all 104 matches in some way, shape, or form. Wow. So I got everyone covered.
we deeply appreciate that. That's a whole lot of soccer.
I got you.
A lot of football. A lot of
yes,
football.
It is.
Yeah. Let me start by asking about the work that you do, Black Players for Change. Tell me about that, and we'll jump from there.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity, and Black Players for Change, 6 years now in existence, founded in such an amazing time in retrospect in terms of what we now know was an unprecedented show of advocacy and unity and coming together. And Black Players for Change is an organization comprised of over 200 plus players, Black players, coaches, executives, staff members, athletic trainers, anyone in the ecosystem. We have a seat at the table for you. And we try to create equality, and we work on anti-discrimination, anti-racism policy through programs, governance, advocacy, and really more than anything, we try to be the heart and soul of soccer in this country. So I'm proud to lead the organization, and honestly, the players are just amazing. So it was an amazing opportunity that BPC had to be a part of a World Cup that is pretty much like a Halley's Comet sort of experience for, I'm dating myself a bit here, but these things don't happen often, and I'm glad that it was here at a time where we could make intentional bridges to a community, a Black community that hasn't always found the game of soccer anything that's sort of on their list of things to do or be about.
Yep. You also have a podcast called New Ground. Say a word about the podcast, and I'll push forward.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Jalil, Annie Baba, myself wanted to create a platform that allowed Black voices to be present in the game. So we basically open up our Rolodex and talk to our teammates, our homies, our friends, the executives, colleagues, people we grew up in. And we're on Sirius XM, channel 157 every Thursday night. You can catch us 7 or 8 o'clock Eastern time, depending on what's going on. But it's been a joy to do the show. And to be honest with you, Tavis, you know, you're someone that in my own broadcast career that I was always sort of as a North Star, and we're approaching 100 episodes, which isn't a whole lot, but we're very excited about the opportunity we have to be with Sirius and to give voice to those who are also a huge part of the game.
No, I appreciate the kind compliment, the kind words from you. And 100 episodes ain't no joke, man. So congrats on that. That's a big deal.
Appreciate that.
I got you by about 20,000, but 100 ain't.
Yeah, I know this. That's why I was a bit sheepish even mentioning three figures, let alone just the number of hours you spent speaking on behalf of so many of us, which we appreciate.
No, you keep it up. You'll be where I am at some point. Trust and believe. It goes fast. Believe
yes.
me. Let me ask you whether or not there is, I guess the word I should use is circumstantial. I'm not sure there's any actual evidence, but what is your best circumstantial evidence, to the extent you believe this, that black people did tap into the World Cup this time around?
That's a great question. I will start sort of personally, anecdotally. My beautiful mother, Suzanne, who I talk to every single day, the game of soccer has been in her life through me, through her 3 grandchildren on my side. And she's seen a high level of the game for a long time. And she was so enamored with the blackness that she saw. And that's sort of the personal anecdote, and spending time with her and just seeing how she was just into these matches, and she could name check all the black players. And, honestly, what's happened, Tavis, is the game became very black and brown overnight. And it's much faster than, I don't want to get too cheesy, but the wheels of justice and equality move much slower, as you know.
Oh, yeah.
So, we had a World Cup. Of course, it was expanded, but the number of black players nearly doubled. And 1 out of every 4 players at this past World Cup was black. That is an amazing hockey stick ascension. And now what it's going to take is all the other sort of tentacles and all the other connective tissues of the game to catch up. That's executives, that's coaches, but also the media, that's marketing, that's sales, that's all the things that you need to build a professional, modern 21st century enterprise. Those are all things that need to catch up to what we see on the field. So for me, the black community that I'm part of in the game of soccer, of course we were locked in. But I did feel, whether it be at the barber shop or just in regular places where the game doesn't translate, and in places where I've had to be sort of the the spreading of the gospel, if you will.
The ambassador. Yeah,
right, I had to be the ambassador so much for the game in these spaces and places. But what I have learned and appreciate is that, if we can create a space, everyone, the proverbial we in the game of soccer, and if black people can see themselves in it, they will come.
Oh, yeah.
So that's the biggest thing.
Yeah. Let me ask you, I got 2 minutes here now. We can continue when we come forward, but in these 2 minutes, to your point that the game overnight became blacker and browner, what happened? Why did that happen? How did that happen?
Well, really, it is, and being mindful of your clock, I would say to you in a very easy to understand way, the outcome that you're seeing on the field is the byproduct of, I would say, this generation 2.0 of young black players being in the game from the beginning. And now when you go to these Major League Soccer Academy showcases or anything, you will see so many black players and their families. So what you're seeing here is sort of this 2.0 byproduct of players who have already been in the system, but now they've navigated what it takes to be a pro. So that's a huge part of it. And now, can we connect even further? That's a larger question. But what you're seeing now is these young people born in the 2000s who understood soccer to be sort of a first choice sport for them.
Right.
And it may not be just always the suburban kids. It's the professionalism of these development academies that are attracting these players. So it's been a lot of fun to see all these young people come into the game at such an inflection point.
I was reading last night in preparation for our conversation today. I want to just read the first two paragraphs right quick of one of the many articles I read preparing to talk to Alan Hopkins about the World Cup and the issue of diversity and black player representation. So let me just read the title of this piece, first two paragraphs, and when we come forward, I'll let Alan Hopkins respond. The piece is titled, Too Many Black Players on European Teams? ? It's a question. Too many black players on European teams? One interesting aspect of the FIFA 2026 World Cup tournament currently underway is the number of black players playing for so many countries that either have relatively small black populations or are not known to have large black populations at all. Unfortunately, the presence of these players, based on various posts on social media, conversations in sports bars where World Cup matches are being watched, and discussions in homes, have evoked a serious problem of racism. I'll pause for now, right there. When we come forward, we'll let Alan Hopkins respond to this question, whether or not there are, in fact, too many black players on these European teams. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Every day, somebody somewhere is trying to silence the truth. Not on this show. For over 3 decades now, Tavis Smiley has been bringing you the conversations that matter, the voices that challenge, the ideas that move us forward. From the halls of power to the heart of the community, Tavis covers it all. Real talk in real time. This is Tavis Smiley.
Hey, Dad, how do airplanes fly? What's in this box? Can I touch this? Where does sand come from? Is this tree good for climbing? What happens if I mix these two things together? How are babies made? What does this thing do?
Kids are curious about everything, including guns. Talking to them about gun safety in your home is a good first step, but you can do more. Always keep your guns locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Storing your guns securely is the best way to prevent family fire, including unintentional shootings. For more information on safe gun storage and ways to keep your family safe, visit endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org.
What do we keep in the attic? What's this thing called? Can I ride my bike backwards?
Like I said, kids are curious. It's up to us to keep them safe. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
Ready to order?
Yes. We're earning unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with a Capital One Saver card, so let's just get one of everything.
Everything?
Fire everything. The Capital One Saver card is at table 27, and they're earning unlimited 3% cash back.
Yes, Chef! This is so nice.
Had a feeling you'd want 3% cash back on dessert.
Ooh, tiramisu.
Earn unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with the Capital One Saver card. Capital One, what's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
This summer, the Honey Pepper Pimento Chicken Sandwich and Pineapple Dragon Fruit and Sprite are back at Chick-fil-A.
Girl, it's back. We've been waiting. I love that honey pepper pimento sandwich.
And that pineapple dragon fruit and Sprite is everything. It's got that razzle-dazzle that makes you stop and say, okay, wait a minute.
I love the creaminess of the pimento cheese. It's savory, it's bold, it's flavorful.
Our faves are back. High five, girl.
Which fan favorite will you choose? Real customers paid for their testimonials.
I love days like these at the pool, but my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can sometimes take me out of the moment. I'm ready to make a splash with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi, risankizumab Riza. Skyrizi is a prescription-only injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. At 4 months, most people saw 90% clearer skin when measured from head to toe, and many were even 100% plaque-free. People also saw significant improvement in psoriasis symptoms of pain, redness, itching, and burning.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
Now there's nothing on my skin thanks to Skyrizi, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis. Visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKY-RIZI to learn more.
Let's get back to more of this rich dialogue with Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Alan Hopkins, who's Executive Director of Black Players for Change. We're talking about the World Cup. Just ended. Spain, two-time champion of the World Cup now. We're talking specifically about these black players and the issue of diversity that was on display in the World Cup. I was just talking, Alan, to my board, Miles You and I were just chopping it up here during that break about the fact that I have traveled to, I've been blessed to travel around the world. I've traveled to many of these countries who we saw play in the World Cup. Many of these countries have black players on their teams. Many of these countries are European countries. I've traveled to a lot of these places, and it ain't like they roll out the red carpet for black people in these spaces, some of these spaces, and yet they got black folk on their national soccer teams competing in the World Cup. So the question that this article raised, and I now pose to you, is whether or not we saw too many black players on European teams.
It's such a provocative sort of statement in the sense of it makes me think, which countries were they not expecting to see black players? Right? That part. Yep. Because France, 80% of the team is black, right? England, almost 60% of the team is black. The Netherlands, historically black players. Germany the last few years. The Belgians, right? So it makes me think, wow, they didn't like seeing a black guy play for Norway. They didn't like and understand that there are black players that play for Sweden, right, and Austria. Look, the Spanish champions. Lamine Yamal obviously is the next one, but the man who provided the assist on the game-winning goal is Nico Williams, one of two black players on the team. So Portugal as well. So it makes me think, how come their racism is greater than their pride or jingoism, if you will? Like the Olympics and the World Cups and all these things are moments where we can actually lean in hard on who we are for any country without any rebuke, without any having to explain ourselves, right? It's like, well, of course you're going to support your country. So I think for Americans, we're very good at this in terms of understanding what people are saying without saying it. Yeah. And I think for a lot of folks who don't go to Europe, who don't understand the borders, particularly in Western and Northern Europe in a way, have kind of been flowing for a while. Yeah. So you're seeing these first generation kids. You're seeing these kids who came over in the early 2000s with their parents from Africa to Norway and to Sweden, and they fell in love with the game like so many people do. So it's an interesting question for sure. And it wouldn't be a World Cup if we didn't sort of attach some sort of angle of country pride and racism and jingoism and patriotism all mixed in there.
Yep, I was laughing because your very first response to my question was to, when you listed those countries, the first country on your list was France. And I'm like, ding, 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 case in point. How many times a year are we reading international stories about seeing photos, seeing live footage of the ways in which France maltreats Africans and other darker skinned people, the nativism inside that country. The politics inside that country. I'm thinking of Marie Le Pen. I mean, don't get me started about the politics inside of France when it comes to the melanin in the skin of some of these residents, these citizens in the country of France. And yet, to your point, like 85% of their soccer team is black. Try to square that reality with the way oftentimes Africans and other, again, darker-hued people are treated inside the nation state of France. And yet, when I thought about that, I also thought about the U.S. of A. We ain't no better. I'm thinking about the Olympics. I'm thinking of Jesse Owens. I'm thinking of Tommy Smith and John Carlos. I'm thinking of Muhammad Ali. And all the years, even today, you think of all the black players, male and female, in all the sports, who represent the United States at the Olympics every 4 years. They'll be coming to L.A. pretty soon, where I sit right now. You think of all the times that we represented this country and how we were being maltreated in real time back in the country. If you know the Jesse Owens story, that it's heartbreaking. He goes and does his thing in Berlin and comes back here and gets treated like a second-class citizen. That's Jesse Owens, y'all. Again, don't get me started. So we can talk about black players on European teams in countries where they don't really roll out the red carpet for black people. But when we pointing the finger at them, there are at least three fingers pointing back at us. I digress for now. Our remaining moments with Alan Hopkins when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Who's sitting across from Tavis this week? Leaders, legends, game changers. the people shaping the country and the culture. They come to Tavis Smiley because this is where the real conversations happen. No spin, no fluff, just straight talk and straight answers. Tavis Smiley, because the kinky question, where do we go from here, starts right here.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The midterm elections are upon us. It is voting season once again. Common Cause's motto is fighting for the democracy we deserve. In service of that goal, Common Cause puts its state and national policy expertise, massive network of grassroots supporters, and nonpartisan approach into action to strengthen our democracy against the challenges we face today. They work at every level of government on priorities that impact each of our lives, like defending the right to vote, limiting big money's influence on our elections, holding public officials accountable, and more. Common Cause is a nonpartisan grassroots organization dedicated to upholding the core values of American democracy. They seek to empower all people to make their voices heard in the political process. This election may be the most important one ever. If you'd like to make a donation or volunteer in service to the Constitution, please visit commoncause.org. That's commoncause.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
Sometimes he fails at fitting in, but we're okay with that. You're inside the Tavis Smiley Show.
You are indeed for another 90 seconds with Alan Hopkins, who is the Executive Director of Black Players for Change. 1 more hour to go in today's program, another minute and a half to go in this conversation. So, Alan, let me close with this extra question. What, to your mind, is the future of soccer, football around the world as it relates to us seeing black faces on the field?
Well, I believe the future of the game of soccer or football is with brown and black colored glasses. Mm-hmm. Honestly, I just think this is like the first real big wave of name checking superstars. Don't forget what the women are doing as well. On the women's side with the U.S. women's national team, their star players are amazing black women. So for me, it's an amazing time, and as soon as our ability to tell their stories and to connect with those players because they see someone from their community on the sideline with the microphone, very similar to how you've advocated for black voices all over the place in media. It's very similar in the space of soccer. The more we can bleed into the decision making, into the leadership, the more the game will start to sort of reflect the values of our community. And the work we do is obviously prescriptive for the black community, but it benefits everyone, and you know this better than most people. So for me, I'm excited about the future, and the game is going to be a place for black people to see themselves from now on, and that's exciting to be a part of that journey.
Well, every one of us has to be ushered into critical spaces, and we appreciate the fact that Alan Hopkins is there to help usher more black faces into these spaces. He is Executive Director of Black Players for Change. Thanks for your work and your witness, Alan, and thanks for the conversation, sir.
Appreciate you, my guy. Thank you so much for everything that you do.
Good to have you on this program. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Texas is reporting a big decline in illegal border crossings, with officials saying encounters are down significantly from previous years. Ira Melman with the Federation for American Immigration Reform says even if migrants make it across the border, they're being sent back to Mexico.
As long as we keep doing this, we're going to see more and more people deciding it just isn't worth trying to break our laws.
Supporters of tougher immigration policies credit stricter enforcement. Chicago renters could see major changes as city leaders weigh two competing housing proposals. Supporters say the measures would strengthen protections for tenants, while critics warn they could increase costs for property owners and impact the rental housing market. And the Trump administration says UC San Diego's medical school improperly considered race and admissions decisions, alleging some Black and Latino applicants were favored over white and Asian students. Federal prosecutors want the school to change their admissions process or face possible legal action. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique. But you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The immigration crackdown by the Trump administration has made its way to HBCU sports. Johan Sandoval, a star infielder for the baseball team at HBCU Savannah State University in Georgia, is free today after spending more than 2 weeks in detention at an ICE immigration facility in Batavia, New York. Sandoval, a native of the Dominican Republic, was detained by ICE agents after a traffic stop in New York City on July 3rd. Sandoval said he showed the agents a valid ID and proper immigration documentation. ICE officials claim Sandoval's student visa had expired. Sandoval will have to plead his case in court. Until his court date, Sandoval had to agree to wear an ankle monitor to gain his release from the detention center. Sandoval, a junior at Savannah State, was MVP of this year's HBCU Baseball All-Star Game in Atlanta. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Let me put my hard hat on, go back outside, and see if these procrastination Crenshaw construction crews have shown up yet. I'm saving space for grace, but if these trucks don't show up soon, well, you already know. Destination Crenshaw, your time is up. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. KBLA Talk 1580 and Bethesda Temple Church invite residents, churches, businesses, and community leaders along the Crenshaw corridor to join a vitally important community conversation Thursday, July 30th, 6:30 p.m. at Bethesda Temple Church, 4909 Crenshaw Boulevard. For years now, this community has been living with unkept promises and the devastating effects of the unfinished Destination Crenshaw construction project, leaving residents, businesses, and churches to deal with myriad problems, including the loss of parking, restricted access, traffic congestion, and a lack of emergency vehicle access when it matters most. For years now, Procrastination Crenshaw has directly contributed to the loss of customer revenue for local Black-owned businesses and, sadly, has forced the closure of some businesses along this 1.3-mile corridor. For years now, churches have been experiencing decreased attendance due to the elimination of parking, and social service programs for vulnerable fellow citizens have been altogether halted. For years now, residents have watched their quality of life erode, and nothing has been done about it. If they think they can get away with treating Black folk like second-class citizens, they better think again.
You better think about what you're trying to do to me.
This town hall meeting is a reckoning, a public witness, an opportunity for impacted community members to share their experiences for the public record as we prepare to hold those responsible accountable for this enduring nightmare. So please join us Thursday, July 30th, 6:30 p.m. at Bethesda Temple Church, 4909 Crenshaw Boulevard. This town hall meeting is free and open to the public, but registration is required at KBLA1580.com. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley, and as always, we welcome your feedback. indeed I do. I still got work to do for another hour. I'm Tavis, Smiley. Glad you're with us on today's program. In this hour, two conversations. On the back side of this hour, we'll talk to former Homeland Security Secretary Jeh Johnson about why he believes that the war powers are broken, why he believes that ICE has lost its way. We will check in with the former Homeland Security Secretary about these issues in real time. Of course, Jeh Johnson was in that position during the Obama era, so we'll talk to him on the backside of this hour. I promised you a conversation at the top of this hour with Bennie Thompson, who was chair of the January 6th Select Committee. 5 years ago now, he has been called to the floor for a House vote. As soon as we can get him freed up, we'll talk to him, but I am always anxious to learn and to dialogue with my White House correspondent. Dr. Nicola Corte hosts his own program on my station here in L.A., A More Perfect Union. So Nicola is here, and there are a few things I want to just talk to him about until I get to Bennie Thompson, assuming that we do get there. Dr. Corte, how are you for starters?
I'm well. How are you, Tavis?
You know me, if I complain about being in great, I'm doing well, and always, again, grateful to you for tapping in when we need to talk to you about things in the White House and beyond. So let me just set the stage, just remind our audience right quick here of where we were 5 years ago, and then sort of get your read 5 years later. And interestingly, 5 years later, as we celebrate or commemorate, pick your word, America's 250th. So here we are at 250, but just 5 years ago at 245, the United States House Select Committee to investigate the January 6th attack was formed. Over its 18-month investigation, the panel held widely viewed public hearings and ultimately released an 800-plus page report. We know how it ended. The culprit was Donald Trump, who instigated a multi-part conspiracy. There were criminal referrals. There was a suggestion by the committee to enforce the 14th Amendment. There were ethics referrals. And again, Bennie Thompson of Mississippi was chair of all of that. It's hard to believe it's been 5 years since this committee came together to do its work. I've had my own critique of Merrick Garland sort of dragging his feet as Attorney General, and had it not been for this committee, those charges and allegations against Donald Trump would never seen the light of day in the first place. But Merrick Garland waited so long that the clock ran out. When the clock ran out, the rest, as they say, is history. Donald Trump becomes president. And the Supreme Court then gives him broad immunity. So this story could have been written, the ending of this story could have been far different than what it was, particularly given all the great work that Bennie Thompson and his committee did. That's my overarching thought. What is yours 5 years later?
5 years later, this insurrection, this really low point for our country, for our politics, it continues to be an open wound for our country. We haven't really been able to heal from January 6th because of the attempts to normalize it. Tavis, I was in Washington, D.C. on January 6th. Mm-hmm. I went to the Capitol because, like you, I had friends and colleagues that were there. And I feared for their safety. I remember walking by a lot of the people that had come to the Capitol, and this was not just your typical day on Capitol Hill. Energetically, it felt strange. It felt off. The intent of those folks have been very, very well documented. And so, it's been interesting to see how successful, quite frankly, President Trump and the Republicans have been at spinning a different narrative. I mean, the fact that this, reimbursement fund, this January 6th fund was created, $1.8 billion fund to compensate people who were involved with January 6th. The fact that it got as far as it did, and the fact that as of last week, when Assistant Attorney General, Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche, when this question came up, he wasn't able to just close the loop and say, that's done, that's over. That's part of the reason why you saw folks like Senator Tillis get so bent out of shape during those confirmation hearings. Mm-hmm. And so this continues to be an open wound in our politics. and the Republicans continue to spin a different narrative. And it's going to be all the more important that folks like Congressman Bennie Thompson and others continue to tell the truth. And I think Democrats are going to have a big decision to make after November, should they be victorious taking over the House. To what degree are they going to revisit this? To what degree are they going to right the wrong of folks being dismissed from any meaningful accountability for committing an insurrection against the country?
Let me take your question right now. We'll delve more deeply into it when we come forward here. Nicole's question is, to what degree will Democrats step up? I got little, like almost zero. That's my sense of it. I did play a clip earlier today of Chuck Schumer announcing that they're releasing a report on Trump's profits, his grift, the big steal, and he promised a lot more to come with regard to exposing Donald Trump's corruption as president of the United States. That's what Schumer said today. But the Nicole's question about how, to what degree Democrats really going to step up when they get power back, if they get it back, I'm not so sure. I am certain that Nicole is right about the Republicans and Trump spinning a different narrative. I want to talk about that part when we come forward. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
From Leimert Park with love, this is Tavis Smiley.
My name is Ariel. When I arrived in the U.S. at 19, I struggled to find job opportunities without my high school diploma. My entire life changed when I took a chance and got my high school diploma at age 22. Everything I have, my education, my career, my marriage, I owe to the Adult Literacy Center and my teachers. They were with me every step of the way, helping with my English and math, making sure I pushed through all the challenges.
Ariel, your success proves that what I'm doing as a teacher has real meaning.
It was an honor helping you achieve your greatness. Now you're helping others achieve theirs. It inspires me.
Education was the key that unlocked all my opportunities.
When you graduate, they graduate. Find free and supportive adult education centers near you at finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Don't be anxious or confused about AI. Take control of your career when you get the skills to tackle real business problems and design specialized solutions. HR Dive reported that entry-level talent with applied AI credentials can receive up to a 25% salary boost. But where do you find training that you can trust? Future-proof your career and deliver more value with Humans Lead the Way AI. Their hybrid learning courses use practical definitions, real-world examples, and strategic insights to help you and your team understand AI with confidence. No magic, no hacks, no shortcuts. Just practical knowledge that helps you use AI more successfully. Don't wait. AI can never replace people who know how to use it well. Register for courses today at humansleadtheway.com. That's humansleadtheway.com.
Roger and Tracy saved over $18,400. Cynthia was recovering from a family tragedy and saved over $10,300. If you are drowning in debt, then call Debt Blue. Debt Blue is a professional debt negotiation firm with over 20 years of experience helping people pay back a fraction of what they owe. Learn how to cut your debt up to half or maybe more. Be debt-free in 24 to 48 months, even with bad credit. With an A+ rating from the BBB, you can rest easy knowing Debt Blue is going to deliver guaranteed debt reduction. Debt Blue offers a success guarantee. You pay nothing unless your debt is reduced or completely resolved. That's right. You save money or it's free. Call now for significant debt relief and a free consultation. 800-200-8879. That's 800-200-8879. You don't have to declare bankruptcy. This program works if you owe $10,000, $20,000, or even $100,000 in debt. Call for your free consultation today. 800-200-8879. That's 800-200-8879.
Freedom is an endless meeting, so let's get back to it with Tavis Smiley.
Donald Trump was at the center of this conspiracy, and ultimately, Donald Trump, the President of the United States, spurred a mob of domestic enemies of the Constitution to march down the Capitol and subvert American democracy. Any legal jargon you hear about seditious conspiracy, obstruction of an official proceeding, conspiracy to defraud the United States boils down to this. January 6th was the culmination of an attempted coup, a brazen attempt, as one writer put it shortly after January 6th, to overthrow the government. The violence was no accident. It represents Senate Trump's last stand, most desperate chance to halt the transfer of power.
That's Bennie Thompson of Mississippi talking about the work of his committee 5 years ago. It was in 2021 that this committee came together, the House Select Committee, on January 6th. And an 18-month investigation ended up with an 800-plus page report. In case you've just tuned in, you recall, I suspect, how this all ended. Donald Trump was the culprit. There were criminal referrals. There was a suggestion by the committee to consider utilizing the 14th Amendment to prevent individuals involved in this insurrection from holding future office. That obviously didn't happen because Donald Trump is there. There were ethics referrals. When all was said and done, my read is that more was said than done, when all was said and done, more has been said than done. Here we are 5 years later. We were expecting a conversation with Bennie Thompson, who was the chair of that committee, got called to a floor vote. The show must go on, and so I'm delighted to, again, tap into the intellect of my colleague, Nicolai Corte. Again, 5 years later. We'll frame this a little bit more broadly in a moment. It's 5 years later, but just happens to be on the occasion of the 250th anniversary of this country, and that's a whole other conversation we can have and will in a moment, as I said. But Nicolai said moments ago that one of his concerns 5 years later is that this administration is spinning a different narrative. They are indeed spinning a different narrative. And you are a student of history, Nicolai. I am a student of history. Many in this audience are history buffs as well. And I do have concerns about which narrative holds. We've heard this question raised 1,000 times, millions of times over the last number of years in the era of Donald Trump. Can democracy hold? I'm not sure that the jury has come in on that question as yet. But the question I'm posing to you now, based on what you said earlier, is which of these narratives holds? Does Bennie Thompson and the January 6th Select Committee, does their narrative hold long term? Or will Donald Trump be so successful at reframing, to use your word, at spinning a different narrative that long term, historically, his narrative is the one that holds?
Well, I think it's a very important question, Tavis. And before we get to the question of which narrative holds, I think we have to look at the infrastructure that narrative is held within. It is very clear to me, very clear to so many of our leaders, learners, and listeners that the Republicans have invested a great deal over a very long period of time in terms of their communications infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what in the world have folks on the left been doing? I mean, this is a part of how and why President Trump and the MAGA movement has been so effective at being able to spin the narrative. Remember way back when Kellyanne Conway was in the first Trump White House? And remember when Kellyanne Conway was talking about alternative facts?
Oh, yeah.
Right? That really marked the beginning of a new era. And, I think there were a number of folks on the left that just sort of dismissed that as crazy talk, right? Little did we know that alternative facts would become almost a governing principle of the Trump White House, the Trump administration, and the MAGA movement. And here we are. I mean, think about it. The way they have successfully spun the insurrection, the January 6th insurrection, they've created a set of alternative facts. And they have invested in a communications infrastructure, an echo chamber that has convinced a critical mass of not just their followers, but of everyday Americans that it wasn't that bad, right? That don't believe your lying eyes, right? And if they've been able to succeed in doing that for January 6th, spin the wheel. There are a number of other issues in which they are employing a lot of the same tactics. When we look at the impact that ICE is having in communities across the country, this administration is saying, it's not that bad. I remember being at the White House, Tavis, when shortly after the Supreme Court decision on TPS, and I'll never forget, Stephen Miller, the deputy chief of staff to the president, was talking to a group of journalists, and he had made this point that the violence in Haiti can't be as bad as the violence in places like Los Angeles, St. Louis, and Chicago, right? What he was doing is the same thing that President Trump has been doing and so many other MAGA Republicans, right? Which is spinning, and trying to convince people that the situation at hand it's not that bad, when in fact it is.
To your point about spinning a different narrative, Trump is the master at this, and again, my concern is which version of these narratives holds. How will historians look back at this? What prism will they use to write the truth about what happened in this particular moment? And again, we shall see in the years to come. The other issue that you raised earlier is actually a question you posed. To what degree, if and when Democrats take back the House, maybe even the Senate, to what degree will they lean in to pick up where they left off when they had the power? I mentioned earlier that I played a clip in today's show in hour 1, I think, perhaps, of Chuck Schumer announcing the release of a report on Trump's big grift. I want to reprise that clip one more again because it, I think, ties in nicely with the question you raised here, not at all rhetorically, about to what degree Democrats are prepared to lean in if and when they take back the reins of power. If they get the gavel back in the House and the Senate, to what degree will they lean in? Take a listen to Chuck Schumer.
Donald Trump has turned the presidency of the United States into the most profitable scheme of his life, and American families are being forced to pay the price. Today, I'm launching a new effort to expose the corruption, show Americans exactly what is costing them, and build reforms needed to stop any president from using public office for personal profit. Senate Democrats will be exposing this self-dealing, showing Americans exactly what it's costing them, and developing reforms to make sure no president can abuse the office this way again. We'll release major legislation designed to rein in Trump's rampant corruption and to prevent any president from ever doing it again. You pay, Trump profits. That's the pattern of this administration, and we'll highlight it everywhere we see it. No amount of gold leaf can conceal the rot spreading through this White House.
We laughed in the first hour in the court line about that last line. No amount of gold leaf can conceal the rot. I think Chuck Schumer's right about that. I heard you chuckle. It's a good line. And yet slogans are not solutions, as you well know. Slogans are not solutions. And when you listen to Chuck Schumer, sounds like Democrats are about to get busy. But our guest in the first hour today, when we played that clip initially, suggested to me that he did not believe that there was any evidence to suggest that Americans really care about Donald Trump's corruption. It's a good talking point. But where's the evidence that when we go to vote at the midterms or get to 2028, that people are prepared to make the Republicans pay for Donald Trump's corruption? I mean, for that matter, the Supreme Court has given him broad immunity. They've looked the other way. Is this as they say down south, is this a dog that will hunt? That is to say, Donald Trump's corruption, this big grift.
If this dog can hunt, this dog has some serious arthritis as well. I'll put it that way. And I think part of the reason why this dog is limited in hunting, if it can hunt at all, you got to consider the messenger. A lot of folks on the left, aren't that happy with Chuck Schumer. They don't see Chuck Schumer, as the fighter that he proclaims to be. I mean, I don't have to remind you of when Obamacare premiums were about to expire, and when Democrats in the Senate had held out for 40 days and 40 nights and then seemingly gave in to Republicans, that didn't win Senator Schumer much grace. And I think also the reform package it's not all that convincing. Yes, the American people, they know that Trump and this administration are corrupt, that they are operating in their narrow self-interest. Nobody's surprised about that, but they also, believe that Congress is corrupt. They believe the Supreme Court is corrupt. And so I think, if Senator Schumer and Democrats are serious about these reforms, I think they have to put together an irresistible reform package that reforms not just 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, but reforms how they do business in Congress and reforms the Supreme Court. Remember, there's record low trust in government, top to bottom right now. And so, part of this is you got to win over the people, and you win over the people by saying, we're even willing to reform ourselves, reform how we do business here in Congress. Anything short of that is going to feel like an empty talking point.
Yep. Finally, here we are 5 years after this January 6th House Select Committee. And at the appropriate time, when he's not on the floor for a House vote, we'll get Bennie Thompson on the line at some point, I'm sure. This stuff happens on the Hill, as you well know, Nicola. But how do you process that we're 5 years after this incident and 250 years into this democratic experiment? I said the other day on this program, when I saw that picture of that young sister, Belinda, I believe her name is, on that metro train in D.C., surrounded by, all those white supremacists. The photo that everybody saw, everybody's been talking about. When I saw that photo, I thought that photo was from 5 years ago. I didn't realize initially that had happened this year, days ago. That's how my mind worked. I'm like, wow, what an arresting photo. But I had no idea it happened in real time. And of course, now we all know what that photo was. But my point is that here we are 250 years in, still talking about what just happened 5 years ago. I give the last 60 seconds to you for how you see that reality.
The democratic experiment is under distress. We are seeing so many examples of the democratic experiment under severe distress, and I think it's incumbent that we develop a founder's mindset, quick, fast, and in a hurry, because like it or not, there's a founding of a new America. And the question is, will that be a multiracial democracy or will it be an apartheid state? There are very powerful forces out there that are determined to turn America's next 250 years into an apartheid state, into a caste system that we thought was in the rearview mirror. And so this is not the time for empty rhetoric. This is not the time, for message bills. It's the time to cast a vision that resonates with people, a vision that resonates with people's pocketbooks, a vision where we can see ourselves in as a part of the future of this nation. Anything short of that, I fear for what we may become.
Sometimes, no matter how good we might be at talking, this is talk radio, by the way, so we're pretty good talkers. And yet, for all the talking we do, sometimes there are more questions than there are answers. Can democracy hold? Is multiracial democracy truly possible in this country? Which narrative is going to hold? Bennie Thompson's or Donald Trump's in the months and years to come? So many questions, so little time. But I thank Nicolai Corte for his time in this half hour. Nicolai, appreciate you, man. I'll talk to you soon.
Take good care.
More of Tavis, Smiley when we come forward.
Helping to stretch your moral and political imagination. This is Tavis Smiley.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Texas is reporting a big decline in illegal border crossings, with officials saying encounters are down significantly from previous years. Ira Melman with the Federation for American Immigration Reform says even if migrants make it across the border, they're being sent back to Mexico.
As long as we keep doing this, we're going to see more and more people deciding it just isn't worth trying to break our laws.
Supporters of tougher immigration policies credit stricter enforcement. Chicago renters could see major changes as city leaders weigh two competing housing proposals. Supporters say the measures would strengthen protections for tenants, while critics warn they could increase costs for property owners and impact the rental housing market. And the Trump administration says UC San Diego's medical school improperly considered race and admissions decisions, alleging some Black and Latino applicants were favored over white and Asian students. Federal prosecutors want the school to change their admissions process or face possible legal action. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique. But you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The immigration crackdown by the Trump administration has made its way to HBCU sports. Johan Sandoval, a star infielder for the baseball team at HBCU Savannah State University in Georgia, is free today after spending more than 2 weeks in detention at an ICE immigration facility in Batavia, New York. Sandoval, a native of the Dominican Republic, was detained by ICE agents after a traffic stop in New York City on July 3rd. Sandoval said he showed the agents a valid ID and proper immigration documentation. ICE officials claim Sandoval's student visa had expired. Sandoval will have to plead his case in court. Until his court date, Sandoval had to agree to wear an ankle monitor to gain his release from the detention center. Sandoval, a junior at Savannah State, was MVP of this year's HBCU Baseball All-Star Game in Atlanta. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
At Charmin, we heard you shouldn't talk about going to the bathroom in public, so we decided to sing about it.
Charmin Ultra Strong. You can use less, better than the rest. Charmin Ultra Strong. Your booty past the clean test. Salmon weave texture, it's the best. Study up, teach a lesson on fresh. Your booty past the clean test. Yes, sir. Charmin Ultra Strong.
Charmin Ultra Strong with diamond weave texture cleans better than the leading one-ply brand, so you can use less. Enjoy the go with Charmin.
We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Our voices aren't the minority opinion. They're the American conscience. This is KBLA Talk 1580.
This is America.
Oh no. Tear the roof down.
I don't have time.
Please, God, save us. Save our house. Please, God, please.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we haven't forgotten what happened Tuesday, January 7th, 2025.
The trauma, processing the loss of our home. How do we address the compounding effect of the fire now more than 18 months later? I noticed one of my 3 children engaged in self-harm who hasn't been able to articulate the challenges that they've had since the fire. And 4 out of the 5 folks in our household are in therapy. 1 is not. And the one that's not is the one who I noticed with some marks on their person. This isn't okay. You need to talk to someone.
Black historical memory keeps alive the stories and struggles of everyday people and communities. Black historical memory preserves truths that others attempt to erase, minimize, or distort. Black historical memory prevents history from repeating its worst chapters. At KBLA Talk 1580, we will never forget. Tune into Conversation Live, Altadena Rising with James Farr, weekends on KBLA Talk 1580. 1580.
Sometimes he fails at fitting in, but we're okay with that. You're inside the Tavis Smiley Show.
You are indeed for the last half hour of today's 3-hour program. I promised you at the top of this hour, 36 minutes ago, a conversation with my homeboy from Mississippi, Bennie Thompson, chair of the January 6th House Select Committee, and at the time we were scheduled to talk to him. He got called to the floor for a vote. That happens on Capitol Hill all the time, and so we understand how that works. And yet, Bennie Thompson has made his way to a phone. And I deeply appreciate and respect our friendship, our brotherhood, that he would get to a phone as quickly as he could to talk to me. Congressman, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well. I hope all is well with you.
You know me, I can't complain, and if I did, I'd be an ingrate. So I no complaining in these parts. Let me just start. I want to make the most of the 25 minutes I have with you, top of the hour here, and thank you again for squeezing us in on what I know is a busy day for you on the Hill. We were trying to frame this conversation before you came on the line about what it means to be 5 years post your committee coming together. I don't want to make it too big and too broad. Just give me your thoughts about how you are processing that it has, in fact, been 5 years now since your committee started doing its pretty arresting and amazing work, I think.
Well, I thank you so much for asking the question. But to be honest with you, even when you put facts in front of people, you have to make sure that the information is not of such that people misinterpret it.
Mm-hmm.
So people thought that the work of the committee was all that needed to be done, that people would get prosecuted, and we had over 1,500 people who either went to court or pled guilty in the process. People kind of thought, well, that's over. That's the past. But you know, in this country, as you know, the devil is busy.
Mm-hmm.
Little did we know that there were powers to be who was putting together Project 2025 all the time, saying, look, we're going to tell this lie that was Antifa, that was Black Lives Matter, that was the FBI dressed up like Trump supporters who breaking into the Capitol, and we're going to keep repeating the lie over and over, and people will begin to believe it. Well, even though we proved it, people were found guilty and all of that. But the naysayers kept talking about they are trying to take our country away from us. And so, to be honest with you, the powers to be who should have been on the front line saying the war is not over, the struggle continues, and the Trump mindset came back with a vengeance, and we thought just laying it out was it, and so the very first act that President Trump did was to pardon all those people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, now, you know, over 100 of them have been convicted of crimes since their pardon.
Mm-hmm.
But that's like looking in the rearview mirror. The question is, what can we do going forward? And I think Donald Trump is doing more to organize the black and progressive community in this country than anything I've ever seen. Because we now know what's the threat that's out here, and we know what's the penalty associated with not participating in the political process. So everybody is asking Tavis, what's the plan? Everybody's saying that the plan is to make sure you go vote, that you are registered first, and then you not just go, but you take other people. And if you heard what the president said last week, he still does not care about telling lies. He's saying that there are illegal people in this country who not only are registering, but they are voting. Well, but you say, okay, you got to prove some of this stuff. And he hadn't been able to prove it. But that hadn't stopped him from telling a lie. We are in a war. We soldiers are dying, getting hurt, and he's talking about elections. And that means that November 3rd is uppermost in his mind, not the war that he started, not the budget-busting budgets that he's funding ICE and other people with. And so we have to be mindful that he is who he is, and the truth doesn't matter. And so if anything from my January 6th experience is none of this can just be a one-off kind of occurrence. It has to be constant. Progress is constant. You can't take it for granted. If you do, then the resources will overrun the problem.
Yeah.
And so now we have billionaires making more money. We have a president who has dared the monument clause to be brought up and making more money than, as they say in Mississippi, than you can shake a stick at. All kind of ways. And then they're betting before the decision, and when it happens, everybody's making money.
Yeah.
You know, so that's what we are faced with right now.
Yeah.
And people have to understand that that's a clear present danger to the democracy that we've come not to just love, but to appreciate.
Yeah. We were talking, Congressman, before you came on the line, about whether or not, let me rephrase this. We were talking about whose narrative holds. Long term, they're going to look back at this Trump era, at this moment in American history. And it's going to be a fascinating piece of work for historians, because you're 5 years past your committee on the occasion of America's 250th birthday. So it's an interesting framing, right? And so we were talking before you came on the line about whose narrative ultimately holds. Donald Trump is doing everything he can to rewrite the narrative. So long term, does Trump's narrative hold, or does Thompson's truth hold? Trump's narrative versus Thompson's narrative, that's where we are. Which narrative is going to hold long term?
To me, Tavis, it's what happens on November 3rd.
Okay.
If we don't take back the United States House of Representatives and or the United States Senate, then it's Donald Trump and all his imaginary becomes the conventional direction that we take. That means that what you saw happen to the East Room at the White House, the Rose Garden, the tearing up everything and replacing it with fool's gold on everything is who we'll become. So changing the names of airports in real time while the person's still sitting there, producing gold-plated coins, putting names on passports, putting shreds over buildings with pictures. Those are the kinds of things you see in countries where dictators run. It's now becoming the conventional direction that the United States of America is headed in. That if this one person in the greatest democracy known to man doesn't want it to happen, then the hell with the House of Representatives, the Senate, the Supreme Court, and all the framing of the Constitution that the framers put together, be damned. And that's why November 3rd is, for all intents and purposes, a real high water mark for this country.
Yep.
And so there has to be some planning. You can't change it without being a registered voter. You got to educate people as to what's at risk. If you look at the Pell Grants that are being cut so that our kids can't be the best that they can be, if you look at the SNAP benefits that are being cut so that kids go to bed hungry at night, you can't learn at school hungry.
Yeah.
I mean, so the health care benefits, they're talking about cutting Social Security. They're talking about limiting the opportunity for Medicare, Medicaid. Those are the social net things that have made this country great. Now, all of a sudden, it's the billionaires and millionaires who are making the money.
Yeah.
You know about these no-bid contracts.
Oh, yeah.
That are going to people. This company that just messed up the reflection pool here in Washington had a no-bid contract. Had never worked for the government before, messed it up, and then they're going to try to blame some guy riding a bicycle that he caused the problem. But the president had the Beast, the other car, all the security. They rode all through the reflection pool before water was put in it. But they're going to blame a guy on a bicycle with a knife cutter.
Yeah. Now,
that's the kind of thing that's at risk.
No, this would be laughable. I chuckle at certain things Bennie Thompson says because it would be funny if it weren't so serious. But you just heard the congressman tell us what we need to do come November 3rd. He's given us an assignment. We have our agenda. When we come forward, I want to ask him what Democrats are prepared to do. One of the other questions that we raised before Congressman Thompson joined us is beyond whose narrative is going to hold, Thompson's or Trump's. The other question you recall was how Democrats are going to lean in. We played a clip from Chuck Schumer saying they're going to expose the grift, the big grift. But the question for Bennie Thompson when we come forward is how aggressive are Democrats going to be leaning in if and when they take back the House come November? You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
From California to the Carolinas, everybody's listening to Tavis. More when we come forward.
Hi, this is Chris Holden, former mayor of Pasadena, former California Assembly member and CEO of LA Fire Justice.
Join Chris Holden and LA Fire Justice for the 27th Annual Community Block Party and Resource Fair, Saturday, August 1st from 3 to 7 p.m. on the 500 block of East Jackson Street in Pasadena. Bring the whole family for an afternoon of live entertainment, games, activities, arts and crafts, and a special performance by Altadena's own Grammy-nominated R&B artist, John B. Hosted by James Farr of KBLA Talk 1580's Conversation Live Altadena Rising, Eaton Fire survivors can connect with local organizations, recovery partners, and speak with the LA Fire Justice team about your rights, their case against Edison, and how you can join them in the fight to hold them accountable and seek the compensation you deserve. Come, be part of an afternoon of community, connection, and support. LA Fire Justice is proud to sponsor Conversation Live Altadena Rising with James Farr on KBLA Talk 1580.
Advertisement, Douglas Boxer, law office of Douglas Boxer, 221 Walnut Street, Suite 100, Pasadena, California, 91101, with the attorney responsible for the content of this advertisement, Chris Holden, .org.
You have something to say, and we want to hear it. KBLA Talk 1580 is engagement radio, not outrage radio. A place where your hopes, your frustrations, and your ideas are welcome 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Real talk, real people, real Los Angeles. KBLA Talk 1580, the station that sounds like the city looks. Tune in on your AM radio dial at 1580. Download our free KBLA 1580 app or listen live on our website at KBLA1580.com.
Unapologetically progressive.
This summer, the Honey Pepper Pimento Chicken Sandwich and Pineapple Dragon Fruit and Sprite are back at Chick-fil-A.
Girl, it's back. We've been waiting. I love that honey pepper pimento sandwich.
And that pineapple dragon fruit and Sprite is everything. It's got that razzle-dazzle that makes you stop and say, okay, wait a minute.
I love the creaminess of the pimento cheese. It's savory, it's bold, it's flavorful.
Our faves are back. High five, girl.
Which fan favorite will you choose? Real customers paid for their testimonials.
He's a paradigm pioneer. and the top-rated African-American talk show host in the nation, according to Talkers Magazine. You're tapped in with Tavis Smiley right now.
Tavis Smiley and longtime Mississippi Congressman Bennie Thompson, who was the chair of the January 6th Select Committee. We've been talking about what it means to be 5 years after that committee started doing its work. It's hard to imagine that after all the work they did and all the truth-telling that came forward in that investigation, that we still find ourselves at this point 250 years in. But I digress on that for now. My time with the congressman is getting tight. So you gave us an assignment. We hear it loud and clear. We know what we need to do. The question is, what are Democrats prepared to do if and when y'all take back control come November, Congressman?
Well, two or three things is, unless you're in charge in Washington, you're just a spectator. You're a participant.
Yeah.
You don't determine legislation. You don't determine anything. So in order for things to work after November 3rd, Democrats have to be in charge. In order to do that, you have to do rigorous oversight. That means you have to see what's going on, hold hearings, not just in Washington. I will be in Houston, Texas on Friday, looking into the ICE situation. If I were chair, I would move the entire committee hearing there. But as a ranking Democrat, I have to just take Democrats to Houston. So I do that. But when you're chair, you say, we're going to have a hearing. We're going to go subpoena ICE to come and say why they're not wearing cameras, why they're stopping people in unmarked cars without emergency lights, all those kind of things. So there's no substitute for being in charge. When we get in charge, we'll do the oversight, we'll issue subpoenas, and we'll fix a lot of the things that this Trump administration has broken. Some of them are symbolic. You know, we will bring the pictures of the black, brown, female military people back into the various institutions. We'll make sure that legislation put resources back in the community. We'll make sure that in times of disaster, the FEMA monies will go back to Americans, not just to red states, but they'll go to blue states because they too are Americans. Mm-hmm. So we have to fix things. One of the challenges I have is somebody said, well, now we got to do it different. We're not going to do it like they did. That's what you mean. They're the ones that put the ox in the ditch. We got to get the ox out the ditch. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Then once we get the ox out the ditch and get things back to objectivity and some semblance of normalcy, then we can talk about working together.
Yeah.
But I think there are some principles on democracy, health care, education, housing. Look, the worst thing that has happened to us as a country, we are now either at war with people we don't like or we putting tariffs on people we don't like.
Mm-hmm.
That's not sound public policy.
No.
If we disagreed, Tavis, till hell froze over and nobody died and it didn't cost any more money, then that's a victory.
Yeah.
And so here we have a draft dodger sending other folks' children to war when, because he was a rich kid, he had bone spurs and he didn't go.
No. And you're sending kids.
But he's rattling sabers every day and just spending all kind of money in defense of a policy, because we are big and bad, it doesn't mean people are afraid of us.
Nope, you're right. You're right about that, and you're right about getting this ox out the ditch. And you're right about the fact, as you said earlier, Congressman, that while we are watching American servicemen and women die in Iran, he's talking about free and fair elections, which is just a ruse for him. It's really about voter suppression. Our remaining moments with Congressman Bennie Thompson when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
This is getting good.
Yeah, man.
Tavis Smiley continues when we come forward. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 is connecting you with services and solutions. Domestic violence and family violence is when someone in an intimate or family relationship tries to gain or maintain power and control over another through a wide range of abusive behaviors. Every single act may amount to abuse. Abuse can take on various forms: psychological and emotional, physical and economic, and sexual abuse. The Genesee Center Incorporated is a nationally recognized nonprofit domestic violence prevention and intervention organization, housing women and children from 30 days up to 2 years through emergency and transitional shelters. The Genesee Center also provides support services like mental health counseling, life skills classes, computer training, job referrals, after-school programs for children, field trips, tutoring, and comprehensive direct legal services. If you need help or you'd like to donate or volunteer, call the Genesee Hotline, 1-800-479-7328. That's 1-800-479-7328, or visit genesee.org. Everyone has the right to be safe. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Hear that? That's the sound of your life. Perfectly imperfect. Beating in rhythm to the world you've created. But every time you drive after drinking, the music gets drowned out. Your life sounds pretty great. Don't let a buzz ruin it. Buzz driving is drunk driving. Don't drive buzzed. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Freedom is an endless meeting. So let's get back to it with Tavis Smiley.
Smiley and Congressman Bennie Thompson, Mississippi. Congressman, I thank you for your time. I've only got 2 minutes left. I know you got to get back to work anyway. Let me, in these last 2 minutes, ask you, given what we've talked about, how hopeful you are feeling in this moment about Democrats' chances come November.
Well, hope springs eternal. We can't take anything for granted. I don't believe in these polls because the folk you and I know, when folk call them asking all these crazy questions, they don't give them the right answer. Mm-hmm. They tell them everything. So they can't poll the key constituency in this country. They just have to depend that we'll do right. You can only get people to do right when you include them in the process. Mm. Don't tell them what they need. Ask them what they need. And once they get it, they'll support you. And so our party and all our other groups have to not take the voters for granted. Yeah. And if we don't take them for granted, talk to them, victory is ours. Yeah. But we can't have folk who've never been in the hood, never been south, never been in the areas that we need to work, sitting in Washington telling folk what they need to do. No. Nope. We need to have people on the ground from those communities doing the work.
That is wisdom speaking, and that happens every time he shows up on this program. Congressman, you and I are simpatico as homeboys on this issue. I've been telling this audience repeatedly, warning them about what I call irrational exuberance. I'm with you on these polls. When Biden was in, they called and predicted a big red wave. That didn't happen. Now they're predicting a big blue wave. I want that to happen, but you can't just rely on the polls. Somebody's got to get up and do something. So you and I are on the same page in that regard. I thank you. Again, I know you were called onto the Hill, but somehow you squeezed us in your busy schedule anyway. Thank you for always doing that, my friend. I'll talk to you soon, I hope.
Thank you, brother. Keep the faith.
You do the same. You keep the faith. I love it. That's how I'm going to close, as I do every day, telling you, just like that, 3 hours are gone. Lord willing, we're back here tomorrow to do it all over again. And until tomorrow, here it comes. Keep the faith.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Texas is reporting a big decline in illegal border crossings, with officials saying encounters are down significantly from previous years. Ira Melman with the Federation for American Immigration Reform says even if migrants make it across the border, they're being sent back to Mexico.
As long as we keep doing this, we're going to see more and more people deciding it just isn't worth trying to break our laws.
Supporters of tougher immigration policies.
Sandoval will have to plead his case in court. Until his court date, Sandoval had to agree to wear an ankle monitor to gain his release from the detention center. Sandoval, a junior at Savannah State, was MVP of this year's HBCU Baseball All-Star Game in Atlanta. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Let me put my hard hat on, go back outside, and see if these procrastination Crenshaw construction crews have shown up yet. I'm saving space for Graham.